STPI has a not-for-profit sister organization called STPI Next, and STPI Next is responsible for innovation, for creating innovation hubs all over country. So there are about 14-15 such similar centers of entrepreneurships in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Pune, in Bhubaneswar, in Delhi, and a lot of other places. There are actually 8 separate COEs in the Northeast itself. Each center of entrepreneurship has a specific focus area on industries that it wants to grow. So for example, ours is one that grows AVGC, AI and computer vision. There is one in Vizag that is promoting Industry 4.0. The ones in Pune is promoting mobility. The ones in Chennai are promoting fintech. So each COE has multiple use cases, different industries, different focus areas where these are happening. To our understanding, Image is the only COE within the STPI Next circle of COEs where computer vision is being encouraged. There are a couple of things to note about this. One is one of the reasons why it was decided that Image COE will support computer vision companies is because we have a very close academic tie-up with the International Institute of Information Technology, IIIT Hyderabad. And IIIT Hyderabad is actually one academic institute that is considered to be the best in computer vision research anywhere in India. Now, because of their support, we were actually able to get in a few computer vision companies, and IIIT Hyderabad has been very kind enough to provide consistent mentorship, including technical and R&D mentorship to many of our startups. They have held a very important role in recognizing computer vision as an emerging technology and helping us to promote that. The second thing in mind that we should keep is that computer vision is it's a very highly technical subject. It requires a lot of technical resources in terms of implementation. It requires a lot of technical expertise in terms of usage. Therefore, our inflow of computer vision startups generally is not very high. We generally get around 3 to 4 startups every cohort. So far we have helped approximately around 10 startups in the computer vision domain also. AI stands for obviously artificial intelligence. It is the most upcoming sector in emerging technology, not just in Hyderabad and Telangana, but essentially in entire India. What AI does is makes models that bring in a degree of efficiency and intelligence into machine. So instead of the age-old, the 90s and the 2000s were the age of automation, where the same process can be taught to a computer to do it repeatedly again and again and again. However, AI can bring in a level of efficiency where a computer can, to a certain degree, whether it's a computer or whether it is a mobile device, to a certain degree, it can learn by seeing the patterns of what previous work it is doing and enhances optimization. So we have a couple of companies that are doing a great work in artificial intelligence. We have companies that are working for AI safety. We have companies that are using AI in very innovative ways in electric mobility, in sports tech, etc. So we are very bullish about the potential of AI. If you would remember, just a couple of months ago, our government in Lok Sabha has passed the data protection bill, and we foresee that AI is going to play a very significant part in ensuring that that our industries can innovate as quickly as possible to ensure that general social good is happening. So we see AI as a very critical part of that. Computer vision is a sort of it's a side track to artificial intelligence, where artificial intelligence is used through vision. So essentially through your cameras, through phones, through the cameras in your phone's devices to detect objects and then use those objects in an intelligent way using artificial intelligence. That is what computer vision does. So we actually have companies that are doing some very, very cool stuff in computer vision also. We have companies that are helping people train to play sports like cricket and badminton better using computer vision. We have companies that are developing products that can take a kind of a mini MRI of your brain just by using a handheld device. So those are the kind of use cases that computer vision has.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
At the image SUI demo day.
At Yara, we are building AI tools. It's more like Alexa, but for business and with a real face. So we are building an engaging user platform where you can create a team or collaboration between your team member. Becomes very easy through the AI capabilities. So we have a speech-to-text board where you can, your wish is my command. It's kind of Aladdin ka chirag, when you say something and it executes it. So it's amazing. And, with Yara, we have the vision that, there will be virtual employees in future, right? So we are in our roadmap, right now we have virtual project manager. In future, we will have the virtual teacher, which will take care of teaching job in the tribal areas where, a lot of teachers don't want to go. Similarly, we will have the virtual salesman where if there is a physical store and you shut it down on 8 p.m. you will have a virtual salesman doing your job even after your shop is closed.
How easy or uphill task is being an entrepreneur, and especially an early stage entrepreneur?
So being an entrepreneur and early stage startup, I would say, I think, the financial part is the biggest challenge for most of the startup, which is where Image COE is doing hand holding. So I must congratulate them for doing this upheaval task. And secondly, I think, if I have to advise, the government and, the agencies who is working in this segment, they should have some sort of marketplace where all the startup can list out their products so that, people like Amazon, they have a very good scale of economy advantage, or they have the deep pockets. But the startups, they don't have that much money to market and sell their product. So maybe some sort of platform where people can put up their offering and at a discounted rate. That would be great to have.
Right, thank you. And just one quick question: what makes a perfect pitch?
I think it's you need to have a closely knitted story back with the financial data. So at the end of the day, investors are there to make money. So if you can help them visualize that they can make money by investing in your startup, I think that would help them.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
How was the demo day pitch today?
Yeah, it was wonderful. Especially, I like the point that there are multiple VCs who had come to understand our startup, and it was definitely encouraging. They were trying to understand the challenges that we have, and it was encouraging. Well, fingers crossed till we get the report from them.
Right. How has been the entire cohort of STPI, the COE?
I have liked it personally. One of the fundamental things that I've liked it like this, probably this is the way it is going on after COVID, but again I liked it because there was a chance that we staying remotely from Bangalore could attend all the sessions as if we are there in person in Hyderabad. That was the best part of it. And the second important point is it was not just the AI companies. I own an AI company. It is also the gaming companies where innovation is there. So I liked it. Generally, when you talk about innovation, it is only one type of companies, right? Either AI company cohort or maybe IoT company cohort. But here I see both the gaming and AI companies. And the people, the team over here was also very supportive. They were proactive in letting us know that different types of conferences. They were also trying to proactively, they were trying to collaborate with the international cohorts. Like recently, a Russian cohort, they wanted us to be part of it, and I think that is very encouraging for startups.
Any suggestions to other founders in terms of pitching or in terms of incubation centers?
Other founders, I think they have to also apply for Image COE if they are in the AI front or the gaming front. And about VC funding, I don't think I'm in the right position to suggest them till I get VC funding from companies. So
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed, yes.
Thank you for talking to my startup team.
Thank you. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
How did your demo get today?
I think our demo day was good. So we had direct interactions with the investors. So what we are building is basically we are building an esports platform, and that helps other players to find other teams, players, tournaments, and also for the tournament organizers to organize tournaments in an automated system.
How did the pitch go and what makes for a perfect pitch?
I think in terms of perfect pitch, it needs to be authenticity. That is what I mostly feel, because you can't just craft a story artificially. So it's more about also your journey, how you have thought this through, why you wanted to do this. And if you can tell the story in a very authentic way, in which that also connects with a lot of, that will help, and has a mass audience problem. So I think that will automatically get your investors attention.
Stay with me. Dhaval, please come forward. I would also, Dhaval, in terms of incubation centers, which city or which incubation center, what kind of incubation centers do startup founders really look forward to?
I think Hyderabad. Yeah, I think Hyderabad has a very good start. I mean, as STPI, Image COE, then we have T Hub in Hyderabad. I think second would be the Bangalore, where they have a very good tech startup scene, and obviously there are a lot of active investors. So, after Hyderabad, I would say Bangalore. And probably then, we will have upcoming, smaller cities like Ahmedabad. They also have a good startup scene over there, and there are a lot of financial MNCs coming up. So, it's a very good place to be in as well.
Thank you so much for talking to My Startup TV. What's your take on this particular question in terms of which cities make the best startup, and what kind of ecosystem are you looking at for startups?
So I think you can't say as best. You can say Bangalore has the head start, because you can say the Silicon Valley of India. So, but I think Delhi has good opportunities, Mumbai has good opportunities, now Pune, Hyderabad, a lot of cities are coming up. And a lot of government initiatives have been also there. And the incubation centers was, something that was not looked, before. So now there are a lot of incubations that are coming up that are actually good and help startups to solve the early stage problems which usually startups face and that kill those startups. So incubation centers have a big responsibility also in that front to get the right tools for entrepreneurs to get a success.
And a quick word on the uphill battle that's entrepreneurship and foundership kind of thing.
Yeah, so it'll be always up and down. So it's not always the same. You always have they say you always have a plan till you get punched on your face. So that's the same quote I'm going to use here, because the startup also ecosystem is like that. You have a plan, I'm going to go out in the market and we're going to launch and we're going to do this and crazy people will come. But once you launch, before even launch. Once you start developing, you're going to face a lot of problems. Some things don't work, some policies have changed. For every startup, it's very different. But it's not always a straight road. Most of the times you'll have to, carve through a mountain or dig a tunnel, different ways to get through the end road.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv. To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Hello and welcome to My Startup TV. I am at Image COE Startup Demo Day. What happened in the rooms on the other side?
Which is an edtech startup that's developing digital tools to enhance self-image as well as communication skills amongst our users. So Image COE has played a real pivotal role in our startup's journey. We were lucky to be a part of the third cohort. And during this 6-month engagement with them, we have evolved as an organization. We've been given the requisite frameworks which are needed, to put our startup on the path to success. Today's demo day was an opportunity for us to showcase, all our learnings into a demonstratable product. And also look at winning interest from potential investors.
Do you have, as a startup founder, do you have any suggestions for people who want to join a particular incubator, probably the way they can pitch?
An incubator really plays a pivotal role, in a startup's journey. It's beyond just offering, physical spaces, for the startup team members to work, but more than anything, I think the mentorship which is offered, also backed by, some sort of financial support, especially for early stage companies, this actually becomes the oxygen that will actually propel them to greater growth.
People who really want to master that skill.
Well, it all boils down to storytelling. Are you an effective raconteur? Are you someone who can engage an audience? Right? Are you able to, tell a story in a real compelling manner? Are you able to influence, the stakeholders, to, swing their opinion, their thoughts, in favor of your organization, right? So make a compelling story. Make it exciting, be a cut above the rest, be a little unconventional. That is what I would suggest.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
This is Karan here, co-founder of Draper Startup House India. For Draper Startup House, this day today has been a very, very transformative day. This is the biggest and the largest property for Draper across the 20 countries that we exist. It's the largest co-working and co-living. We are around 108 beds with 250 working seats. What does that mean for Telangana? That means we are creating a community for entrepreneurs to live and also work together. We inspire entrepreneurs, we connect them, we enable them. And how do we do that? By doing workshops, panel discussions, and hackathons, and collaborating networking opportunities for people to come together. So what will happen here today is great for Telangana. Why? Also is because the government also enables us. Government is helping us to do these kind of exploratory community living spaces. So at Draper Startup House, we believe collaboration is the only way to grow together. Today has been like a, I would say, transformation for what Draper stood to, like in 2020. We were just 5 properties. Today, 20 plus, and we are still growing. We want to go with the India growth of economy, which is going big, and this is the decade for India. Another 20 years, I would say, is going to be a lot of growth. India is growing, startups are growing, and at Draper Startup House, we see that happening too. And we are looking at least 10 to 20 properties in coming 2 decades. And that's our vision. So we have been just in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. Right now, we feel Hyderabad is kind of catching up. The infrastructure, the government support has been so immense. We felt it is a right place for us to be there and to enable this ecosystem for startups. So how are we doing that? We're getting like-minded entrepreneurs, startup founders, people who are inclusive in the startup ecosystem. To how are we doing it? We are making this co-living and a co-working concept cooler and to be very inclusive. And that way, we are enabling this ecosystem even more to help the government here in Hyderabad to actually create this impact for startups. So here, entrepreneurs can live, collaborate, connect, and also get inspired while they're living and realizing the dream of turning that idea to a business. So this property right now, where I'm sitting here, is the largest for the Draper Startup House across the 20 properties. So it's a big day for us. I'm so excited. I'm also excited for the India's growth and also excited for Telangana. And I'm there here, and you'll find me here to talk to entrepreneurs to make it happen. So we are open to start the Draper Startup House across India, north, south, east, west. We are doing that. So Hyderabad was the closest because the way the government support has been immense. So we are looking at Goa, we're looking at Kochi, we're looking at Chennai, we're looking at Pune, we're looking at Gurgaon, we're looking at Mumbai, and also in Odisha. So we are talking to stakeholders and decision makers who are passionate to grow these communities in their respective cities across India. I'll be happy to talk to them, see how we can grow this community in their respective places and respective cities. I'm more than happy. I'm reachable at Draper, and you can note down Karan at Draper Startup House. Be happy to answer those queries, calls, or just ping me. I'll be happy to take this discussion forward. But this way we can collaborate and grow.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
Hello, my name is Vikram Bharati. I'm the founder and CEO of Draper Startup House, which is a global organization. We're based in more than 20 countries. We have a very, very big history of venture and building startup communities. But essentially, we exist to do 2 things. We are in the business of human capital development and economic development globally. And these 2 things are very much interconnected, and they are combined together. And the way we envision executing on these 2 things is that we have a very strong vision and mission, which is to help create 1 million new businesses in the world in our lifetime. And by doing so, these two things come together. And we execute on this by essentially doing three things. We build physical startup houses and startup communities around the world that brings everyone together. We invest in companies. And the third thing is education. The whole idea is to get people to upskill and learn new things. And so these three things help us to create more businesses around the world, which we feel is the way that we will contribute to making the world a better place, a more peaceful and prosperous place. Draper Startup House has been operating in India, in Bangalore for the last few years, and that model of the startup house has been very successful. And so now we realize that this is a model that we can grow in different parts of India and across all of India. So we chose Hyderabad as the next launch destination because we found a very good partner who wanted to do this, and because it was the right partner, we decided to do it here. And also, Hyderabad is the up-and-coming startup ecosystem or community in India, and I think the timing is right to put something like this in Hyderabad. But then our goal is to replicate this in 10, 15, 20 cities across India. But our first destination is Hyderabad. So we're very excited to be here, and we really hope that this place will be full of startups from all over India, actually all over the world, because we are located in all over the world, that they will come here and not only build their companies here, but also meet new talent, recruit new talent, etc. Our concept or our idea of investing is to be investing in the future. So we don't necessarily look at things that exist today, but we try to ask ourselves, what is the future? What is the innovation that will happen in the future that we can't even imagine today, but if it does come to fruition, it will change our lives. And this has, I think, been the case in every transformation in history. There's been new technologies that come that at the time people don't understand. It's sort of like when the internet came, people did not understand it, but it transformed our lives. And so we feel that the way we can kind of really move the needle is to be investing in things that are going to build the future. So we look for things that are very new, things that maybe are very misunderstood, things that you may take 3-4 takes to try to understand, and then once you do understand, it becomes so obvious. So those are generally the things that we look for. Now we're sector agnostic, but we're really looking for the new, original, fresh ideas that will help build the future. And we are early stage investors, so we write 100K, 150K checks. We're usually the first check in these types of companies.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Hi, I'm Vinuta, Chief Community Officer at Draper Startup House, Hyderabad. So today is the launch of the largest, not only Draper's largest, but the largest co-working, co-living community space in India and worldwide. We are celebrating launching a 108 capacity co-living facility and 150 capacity co-working facility. More than this, I think the community space that we have built and the community initiatives that we want to take is what is really exciting for us. So with the launch of Draper Startup House in Hyderabad, we are looking forward to bring an engaging community to the already vibrant startup ecosystem in Hyderabad. We were very happy to have the who is who of the startup ecosystem, investors, mentors, startups, service providers, everybody as part of the event. We have been graced by 7 of the most distinguished personalities in the startup world to be there as our chief guests, who have inaugurated every part of our property, and they've really had a good time having a long stroll through the property. They were very impressed with what they have seen. The Hyderabad startup ecosystem has been home for me personally for over a decade now, and we have done a lot of things right. We have amazing government support. We have, I think, the most bonded startup ecosystem in the country. We have about 75 plus incubators, accelerators. who meet up on a regular monthly basis. And through Draper Startup House community, we want this place to be a space that everybody calls home. Like literally we want it to be the house for the startup community. You drop in here for your social interactions, you want to just catch up with a couple of entrepreneur friends, you want to meet up with a mentor, you want to engage in a creative activity which would probably help you in your startup journey. All that is going to happen here at this Draper Startup House.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
In today's age and time, people seek to be part of a community or communities they can identify with. Helping people find their connect is Emilio, a startup that seeks to transform cities into curated microcosm of open, hyper-local communities. It is helping expand social horizon through the power of food and AI. Hello and welcome to this episode of Founder Talk on MyStartup TV, a dedicated media channel for startups and entrepreneurs. I'm majorsunilshetty. Joining us is Shekhar Dixit, who's the founder and CEO of Emilio. He is a former Big Four senior executive, a foodie, and whose company has declared among the Google top 3. Welcome Shekhar, welcome to the show.
Thank you Majorji. So thank you for inviting me for this pleasantry talk. Thank you very much.
I'm very curious to, or intrigued to know what is the connection between food and AI.
Food and AI, I mean, see, the AI is all over us, right? It's dawning on us, and there's not if or when, how are we adapting to the AI? And we feel like food is something that's been sustaining us for ages. And the power of AI can transform our experiences through personalization and by simplifying choices. There are great benefits that we can reap through AI, and that's what we'll be unleashing in the power of technology in a couple of months.
Food and AI, and then your tagline, how does that fit into each other, as in building communities who love of food, right? That's what your tagline is all about. So firstly, how far have you come on a scale of 1 to 10, and how are you integrating all these things together?
Certainly, I mean, I would say that we are probably at the number 6, right? We're unleashing the power of community and food with AI and creating the surprise and happiness with many. But I would like to share a bit of a backdrop story on how we got motivated in the first place. So this starts around last year when I moved to Pune, right around July of last year. I live in a bustling township of 10,000 flats, and yet I realized that I know only 10 people in the community and entire 50 people in the city, vibrant city like Pune. And I was thinking for myself, like despite the social networks like Facebook, which have near become entertainments and engagement these days, or WhatsApp, which is completely closed communities, you can only join if somebody invites you. I'm not really able to explore my social horizon beyond what these networks are giving me, and they're hindering my exposure. And there's so much that city like Pune or Hyderabad has to offer for someone like me, and understand and meet up with people. And I said, what if we build hyper-local communities that is open for you to explore, saying what are the groups, and they're curated by your locale or different interests, and you're able to open to go and join those communities, meet up with some new set of people what city has to offer. And what if you take that and glue it up with something that is as strong as food? For thousands of years, the communities were smaller, festivities were the way of life, and food has always been the conduit or
as a central part of it.
As a central part of it. So I said, while we are entertaining and building these communities, right, we wanted to foster and bring them together, create meaningful connection over food. And that's when we say that when two people meet, right, imagine those last 5 instances or encounters you had, food, drink or coffee has been part of that conversation. And that's how we wanted to bring that excitement of food in forming better communities, helping people and expand their social horizon. And when it comes to AI, and I would say food is something that is unique for each one. And one size fits all is not like t-shirt that food goes, and that's how most of the platforms as well as industries have evolved into saying mass marketing or buffet style approach. Whereas food is so much that is unique for each taste. So that is how through our platform we learn your taste behaviors, your preferences, your dietary restrictions, and make sure that each time you dine out, those things are taken not only in simplifying the choices that you get each time you go out, but also take those preferences and digitally send it to the kitchens through the power of partnership that we have done with POS.
So in today's world of Zomato and Swiggy, where does MLU fit in?
I would respond that into three parts. See, one, when you talk about food, just some statistics I'll try to share. There are, the Indian market itself, there's 1.4 billion people out there. The more population increasing in food, and their spend on food is also increasing exponentially, right? That's one fact. The second, today the total Indian food spend as per NRAI is roughly around 4.78 lakh crore rupees, of which only 5% of that been put into a marketplace, still leaving so much of food that is digitized through paid through Paytm or POS, but not aggregated to marketplace. That's the second space. The third, our element, I just want to state the facts and then get into the differentiation. And third element is, when you look at food and eating out or dining in, there's so many different ways of engagement we get in. Only delivery has been one part of the problem that's been solved, leaving the opportunity for us to solve many other ways of interacting with food that we have on a daily basis, and simplifying the journey and give you a better control, right? So these are statements of facts that I want to make sure we bring in. So from a differentiation perspective, I use a simple phrase. I would like to say that here. See, Swiggy and Swiggy and Zomato, with respectfully, they deliver food. For us, the tagline has been delivering happiness with food. I think that's where first thing we bring into the equation is, helping you meet more people within your own cities and neighborhood, right? So that way, with food you have joy of not only meeting up with your own set of people you hang out with, but also possibly meet up with new set of people and continue to explore and have that joy and happiness with food, right? The second, part is really allowing you to have simplified choices. An example I would cite, if you are planning to go out for an anniversary with your wife, or a birthday for your kid, right? Rather than going out to the same old place and having the same old thing, there is an opportunity for us to create a curated experiences, which is what we have launched in Pune, and we are learning through experiments that is what is the need of the hour. That people are willing to spend money, but they are not having those experiences, and that is the second differentiation we bring to the market. First is social communion, spreading joy with food. Second is building and having experiences of eating out and having those elements. And third is our entire model has been built in such a way that we are able to create this value and happiness through the power of partnership and AI, right?
So when you say talk about partnership, could you elaborate upon that as to what kind of partnership are you building?
So a couple of examples I would like to bring in. So we are already live. Dunzo, which is one of the popular delivery partner, we have done a pilot with them in Pune. So without putting our boots on the ground, we are able to deliver food and happiness to your own comfort of space of home or outside, right? So with this partnership, we are able to exactly do what anybody else did much better.
So yes, also your cost comes down there.
Certainly. Yeah. On the second partnership, we are partnered with some of the popular POS systems, which gives us access to the market scale of customers, but at the same time, all those personalization that we talked about through the power of AI and choices, we are able to take those instructions directly to the kitchen so that the people cook the food the way you wanted, and it becomes an experience of your own each time, right? That's the second set of partnership with POS, because they are better in that space, right? And the third one is the ONDC. I don't know if you have heard of ONDC, but that's the next biggest revolution or tide that's going to be seen or known by the industry from next year on. So what UPI did for wallets, if you know, the time before, each time you had to fill in wallet and Paytm, PhonePe, and there was no interoperability. So UPI solved that interoperability, and you see wider adoption across everybody here. Cash nahi mujhe UPI karo, right? So the same thing the ONDC is doing with the democratization of the e-commerce, right? And our philosophy from day one has always been use the right mind for the right purpose. That's how we wanted to use the leverage of Dunzo being the best delivery network, or maybe there are 100 others that we are able to use through ONDC and have the delivery catered at your convenience. Bring in restaurants of your choice rather than us going restaurant by restaurant trying to manage the supply. So through the power of partnership and the ONDC, we are able to bring any restaurant and make that choice available to you. And this is how we are leveraging partnership and the power of AI in bringing personalization and experience along with people.
What next for you? I mean, you have been, top 3 in Google. You got some funding from them. You want to talk about that a bit, and also you're also part of the India Startup Festival, the first edition, where you're among the top 10. So if you can just share about your experience there and what next for your startup.
So journey began with us winning the award of top 10 in ISF last year, right around the same time. And that was the biggest accolade. With that, despite the funding winter we all know about, we are blessed to have a good support of mentors and access to people. I think that's what I'm realizing more, despite the 2 decades of corporate consulting and CXO experience. It is always about learning and having the right people around you to walk along the journey. And as an entrepreneur, that's my biggest learning I've taken from here. And through the ISF network, I've met a lot of great mentors. We have raised some funding through ISF angels as well as other angel groups in the early part of the year. And then that also paved the path to get into the Google cohort. We have been fortunate to be top 30 in Asia Pacific and ANZ, which is an accolade that was given only to 3 companies in India. And we were one of them. And we also received a 200K in investment from Google. That's a sense of excitement. And from ever since, that propelled our trajectory. And now in the second edition of ISF, we volunteered, or we were part of the core group in organizing the event and so on. Because I'm a firm believer of giving back in a way, so that way it becomes more sustainable. Right? While I've received a blessing in mentorship disguise, and we're still on our journey of figuring out how to go to the next, we have volunteered and be part of the core organizing team of the ISF 23, which has seen tremendous success with 10,000 startups coming in, and definitely helping a couple of other founders and startups in a similar set of journey or probably a year earlier. So it's been and part of that ISF. And certainly with Google, we've been blessed to not only get their support on technology, we have assigned mentors from them who are helping us day in and out. We're also getting access and access to their investment network. I mean, Google, right? It's all over place, and certainly we feel very positive on, once we get it to from 6 to 7, which is going to happen within this year, it's going to unleash a completely new era that people have not seen, especially hyperlocal social networking, meeting more people to what city has to offer. It's going to disrupt 2 spaces. One is how food is taken in, not just as a commodity to consume, but as an experience to meet along with people. And the social networking, which has been sheer entertainment, it really creates some meaningful connections and forge some conversations over it.
And what next?
So next we have a couple of things on the plan, but I would like to share a few. One, despite us building the open network, which we are able to explore, curated based on the entire city getting transformed into microcosms, we are also looking to enable the power of food and AI onto existing communities rather than unrooting from them. For example, we'll be creating some options or exposing these options on top of existing WhatsApps and Telegrams, so that people who are conversing or communicating over those networks are able to use the choices and experiences that we built through our platform.
And ease of access, right?
Ease of access. I think that's the first point I keep bringing in, that today in the world, there are too many choices confusing us. Simplification choice is one of the biggest favor we can do for ourselves, right, through means of technology. And that is one thing that we'll be looking into. And second is certainly, while we feel the pain of social exposure being constricted in the urban cities, such pain exists not only just in India but also many other countries which are much more, the social fragmentation much more widespread. So we see this as an opportunity of building something great in India and taking it across to places, and to the US, Dubai, and I've lived there in places quite developed and sprawling countries. But when you look at social psyche or how people come together, it's a lot of opportunity for us to bring a platform like this and create that community and communion over food.
And food, having traveled myself a bit, in different parts of the world, food is a common language, right? People speak, they get together, they form community around food. So which is, makes a lot of sense in what you're doing. What has been the experience of your users or the people who use Amelio today?
Certainly, see, from the restaurant we are actually getting a lot of patronage. Today we have 50 restaurants. We have just limited to experiment with few, but we have another 250 lining up to be on board. So that shows us that we are doing something that they are loving or liking. And from a user perspective, so far what we have done and shown to the world is we can do things much better, 10x better than what our predecessors have been doing. And with the community angle coming up, and we see a lot of excitement, more importantly, because when we began this journey, we did an extensive interview with around 500 people of different age group, different strata, and see, hey, this is our concept. If I give you the opportunity of open networking within the city, is that something exciting? And that's how we've learned through the experience and start building the product and the platform, right? That's the one segue that we've seen that in Pune. But over and beyond, it just seems to be a very exciting time, in many facets. While we are getting out of the funding winter, things are looking spring on a different angle. The whole India is going through a big transformation with startups. I mean, all of us have known about it. I mean, there's nothing new that I'm sharing here, but I'm just, reiterating or preaching to the choir. So definitely we are at the right time and space, I believe, and we have got a right support in terms of investors and the mentors, and definitely we just need to cross the bridge. That's going to be happening within the next 3 to 6 months. And that creates a new avenue and opportunity for us to take it and spread it across.
Shekhar, thank you for being on our show, and we wish you all the very best, and you continue to build community with not just communities but community with the flavor, with the taste. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I think other than food, we definitely want to bring more things to the communities as we go in, entertainment and content. But at this stage, the food being the strongest glue, we'll start off with it, giving something more and spread happiness with food. Food is our first motto.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure talking to you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
I would kindly request, without any further delay, I would like to invite Dr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy, sir, for his session.
At the outset, let me first congratulate IIT Entrepreneurial Cell for taking this initiative of promoting the entrepreneurship awareness in the country. I also like to congratulate Vardhaman Engineering College, our principal, Professor Dr. Ravindra, for facilitating this event at Vardhaman Engineering College. Those two things, or several things are there which are big passions of my life. One, of course, is entrepreneurship. As I wind down in my life, the big ambition in my life is to promote, evangelize more amount of entrepreneurship. I'll tell you why in a moment. The second is that I'm very connected with the IIT system. If I have an opportunity to stand in front of all of you today, I think it's the learnings that I got from IIT Kanpur made that difference to my life. An enormous amount of gratitude I have for the teachers, for the institution. And one way of giving back is that I wanted to get connected back to the IIT system. And I did reasonably well. I run 2 IITs as a chairman of the board now. The first one is IIT Hyderabad. I've been the chairman for the last 11 years. And even without some amount of resistance, I wouldn't say too much of resistance, there was some amount of resistance, I still got an extension for 3 more years. So I'll be the longest standing chairman for an IIT by the time I finish my term. That's only a small part of my giving back. I also run IIT Roorkee as the chairman of the board for the last 4 years now. Amazing fact I did, which I, with all modesty and humility, I'll share with you. There are 5 Gen 1 IITs, that's Generation 1 IITs as they're called. These are considered to be the strongest pillars that this country has. Thereafter, of course, we added 18 more. We now have 23 of them. IIT Roorkee got added only in 2000. I took this as a challenge. We displaced one of the 5 IITs from the top and made IIT Roorkee as one of the top 5 engineering institutions in this country. That was done in the last 3 years of my leadership at IIT Roorkee. So I'm in that mood and mode of giving back and take back my corporate life into the education institutions to ensure that we make them as good as the corporate world. We need to talk about entrepreneurship. And let me start with the first thing. Why do I think entrepreneurship is so important? And I also like to share with you, I like this to be interactive. I'll ask questions, but if you have questions for me at any point of time, please raise your hand. I'll be more than happy. We'll have some mics into the audience. And Manasa and Arjun Reddy are there to help you. So let's go back to the first one. Why do I think entrepreneurship is so important? How many of you have heard about a word called demographic dividend? I don't want people in the front 2 rows to lift their hands. I'm sure they're all more knowledgeable than I am. Not necessarily that you are less knowledgeable than I am. So from the audience, anybody putting up their hand up saying that what's demographic dividend? Any hands up? Please do not hesitate. Yes, sir, please. Somebody up there. You should tell me who you are first.
I'm assistant professor,
Yes.
Triple E department.
Okay, go ahead. Still, I'll allow you to speak.
Sir, this demographic dividend means it is the advantage of having huge population like India, China. We are having that advantage. So much manpower is available. That I think.
You got it wrong. Huge population is not demographic dividend. Refine your answer if you like. I'll give you one more chance.
Huge working population.
Thank you. You got it right now. Thank you. So if you have huge working population, which is typically defined anywhere between 16 to 65 years, a nation is supposed to be enjoying what people call it as demographic dividend. India now has 62.5% of India's population is in this particular spectrum of 16 to 65 years. What does it mean in very simple terms? It means there are more number of people who are working compared to the people who are not working. In effect, you know, people who are younger than the 16 years, they're not working. Above 65 years, take a few exceptions like me, they're also not working. So the result is that if you have a large bulge of population which is productive, nations see enormous amount of prosperity. We have seen an upliftment and economic activity in a nation because of demographic dividend. What do we have as examples? We have this first one was Japan. The second was South Korea. Third is China. China still enjoys demographic dividend. So India has that advantage, if you learn from the other countries, that we can also prosper like those 3 countries I mentioned. But here comes a challenge along with it. What's the challenge? The challenge is, as a result of this demographic dividend, we put 1 million people in the streets of India every month for jobs. So these are not just people, you know, will be produced, they'll graduate, find jobs, they will start become productive, they uplift the economic activity of the nation. They don't. So therefore, there is tremendous amount of demand for jobs right now. I talked about 1 million jobs every month, 10 million jobs approximately per year, or if you look at this window of 10 more years ahead of us, at least 10 more years, we require 100 million jobs. And there is enough of evidence all around the world that net new jobs in any economy are created by new companies, small companies, and medium companies. Existing large companies create only 40% of the jobs. The rest of the jobs get created by the startups and the entrepreneurs. So you can understand the type of pressure that we have as a nation today to create those 100 million jobs or 10 crore jobs in the next 10 years coming from the industry. That's the need that we have in terms of entrepreneurship. So therefore, let's be clear that all of us have to work towards this goal of saying we have to become employment generators and not employment seekers. That's what we need to do. Let me move on. I need to watch my time, yeah. Let me move on. So what is entrepreneurship? Any hands going up? What is entrepreneurship? Who is an entrepreneur? The professor, when hand went up in the past, this time even that doesn't go up. Or he doesn't want to do it. Let's hold on. Who is an entrepreneur? Disappointing. Please, don't disappoint me too far. No one knows what is who is an entrepreneur? Okay. You go and Google now.
Yeah. Myself, Srinivas Reddy. I am AID department. Entrepreneur is nothing but reorganize.
Stand up.
Sorry. I'm sorry, sir. Myself, Srinivas Reddy, CSE AID department. Entrepreneur is nothing but organizing the resources in best way to giving the comfortable to the toward the society, making the comfort and reorganizing the resources.
Companies do that too. So we can't call the companies as entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
So how many of you have smart mobiles with you? Lift your hand up. How many of you have already Googled this word called entrepreneur? Be brave. Boss, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not a tiger here to eat you up. How many of you have Googled it? Nobody. You're not using the internet system well. So if you go and Google it, in the interest of time, let me move on. You'll find entrepreneur is a person who has an idea and he likes to make use of this idea as a business for getting an economic benefit out of it by taking risks. So look at the definition that I just said Google because that's anyway the Bible. So therefore, but then even otherwise it will be the same thing. It's a person who has an idea, who wants to take risks for making it a business for getting substantial economic benefit out of it. That's what an entrepreneur is. So therefore, if you look at entrepreneurship, that's Google's definition. But to me, entrepreneurship is much beyond that. Closer to home, I'll take my example. I did a startup. I did a startup 32 years back. 1991, 1992 is when I did my startup. And of course, these 30 years of story that I have, my business story, it's not my personal story. I wrote a book called Dreams to $1 Billion. Life is so that I wrote this book. It took me about 2 years to write. It's already a year old. It's a national bestseller. I saw it also in the lobby. If you guys are interested, go buy a copy of the book and read it yourself. But more interestingly, it also has become the national bestseller. And what's more important than that is that I started as an entrepreneur, and I did take risks. I built a company for the economic benefit. You may be curious, what's the economic benefit, Mr. Reddy, like? I started this company with 20 lakhs of my money. That was $80,000 in US dollar terms. Today, that 20 lakhs or $80,000 is valued in the stock markets. We have two companies now. One is a daughter company or the parent company, and both are listed. So these are not made up numbers of mine. If you go and go to the stock market and see the price, you'll find them. Between both of them, they're valued at 25,000 crores. That's what entrepreneurs can create value. It's not just me. Many other entrepreneurs have done this. So you leave apart that part of the definition. There's a lot more than that. Entrepreneurs participate in nation building. Number one, we created 18,000 jobs, 18,000 high-paying jobs in 18 countries around the world. We talked about it, how important employment generation is for this nation. Creating 18,000 jobs certainly is something which is credible. The second one, many of you may not be familiar, at least a few of them who are sitting in the front rows may be familiar, is in 1991, 1992, this nation was precisely in the same situation as what Sri Lanka is today. What is the situation in Sri Lanka? They are unable to pay for their foreign debt that they owe to other countries. India was exactly in the same situation, brink of a disaster. The Prime Minister was Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, the Finance Minister was Mr. Manmohan Singh, and I keep saying sheepishly, they were smuggling gold out of India to Bank of London to pay for the debt that we had. They liberalized the economy. They came with new policies. But who executed the policies thereafter? It's the entrepreneur who executed the policies. It's the Infosys, the HCLs, and the Science who work together to make sure what is the result of it today. This country has $580 billion of foreign exchange surpluses with us, reserves with us. So entrepreneurs contribute to nation building. A third one is that if you look at innovation, can somebody help me? What is innovation? Any hands up, please? What is innovation? Yeah, go ahead. I'll give you a chance.
So it's basically the ability to create something which is never there by using the present resources that are available.
Very good. Thank you. So create something new with the present, which was not available so far, with the resources that are available with us. And to do that, the nimble-footed small companies are much capable of doing it compared to large companies. So even if we were to say that large companies, we wouldn't call ourselves a large company, we are a mid-sized company at 18,000 people, or a revenue profile which is getting close to $1 billion right now. But the smaller companies, which are the startups, are more nimble-footed, we keep calling them. They're much more agile. Their ability to think about problems and find solutions is much faster. So, what have they done? Even in the West, it's the small companies, the medium companies, which have contributed to innovation big time. So therefore, entrepreneurship is not just limited to just having an economic benefit, but it also is participation in nation building, in making sure that we have better resources. And ultimately what happens is, we've seen two things because of entrepreneurship. The living conditions improved considerably. A great example is this machine. Steve Jobs was an entrepreneur too. He created this machine for us. Look at the type of conveniences that we have. And the second one is, we also have seen economic upliftment. That is, per capita GDP of an individual change quite dramatically. So we talked about who is an entrepreneur, what does the entrepreneur contribute, and what's the need for entrepreneurship at this point of time. Then the question comes up is, what does it make to become an entrepreneur? Can I tell all of you, please become entrepreneurs, and all of you now pack your bags and go and say, I'm becoming an entrepreneur? No, it doesn't work that way. The first and the foremost is, I always tell people, please ask yourself this question called, what is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? There's so many human beings out there in this world. So am I like one other person? One other animal? Just live there, eat there, enjoy weather, and disappear thereafter? Or do I live here for something which I want to contribute? So every one of you have to ask this question to yourself, what I want to become. Not necessarily the answer will be, I want to become an entrepreneur. Don't even be disappointed if you don't get that answer. But only when you get an answer saying that I have the mindset to say, I have to become an entrepreneur because I want to create something new. I want to create value. I want to participate in nation building. I want to create jobs. I want to become more innovative. I want to get to recognition. That is when the first question that you have to answer is, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to say, I have the answer of my question to purpose of life says that I have to contribute something substantial to the society. Thereafter comes the other questions that follow through. And before I get to the follow-through questions, I also would say, even if you're not an entrepreneur, please develop the mindset of an entrepreneur. What does an entrepreneur do? He runs his business, right? He creates economic value. He creates jobs, all that he does. Can't you do the same working for somebody else? You can do the same by being accountable to what you're doing. If you start saying, I'm responsible for my job, I'm accountable to what I do, and I continue to constantly think about what can be better for this company, these are all the attributes which fall in place to make sure that you have an entrepreneurial mindset. But if you want to truly become an entrepreneur and run your own business, the first and the foremost that you require is passion in life. Passion in life to attain an objective. I had this dream, and I think, I'm sure some of you must have read President Abdul Kalam. He says, and I don't readily recall the complete quote, but what he meant was that you need to dream all the time. But you don't dream while you sleep. You dream when you're far awake. You dream about your ambitions in life. That's the passion that you need to have. We continue to dream. Where am I in my life? I still continue to dream. You don't know what's tomorrow. I don't know what's tomorrow for me. I'm sure I know what tomorrow for you all is. Very promising. May not be true with me, where I'm in my life. But will it stop me from dreaming? It doesn't. That's my birthright. Will I be ambitious? Yes. What will I do thereafter? I probably leave something more substantial back in the society. So therefore, our ability to dream big is one entrepreneurial skill that you require. The second thing that I talk about is that you need to think about, if you want to become an entrepreneur, think about a problem which is real. Don't imagine a problem that exists somewhere and I say, I found a solution. Go back, you'll find so many of them. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I was listening to this gentleman, trying to get his name in a minute, Surya, the last is Singambatla, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, professor of entrepreneurship. He was saying one of the projects that his class drove last semester was all about how do you buy pet dogs. Don't think it's a simple problem. Who sells pet dogs, first of all? There are kennels. There are ethical kennels, unethical kennels. And therefore, how do you then create a platform for people to go and buy from the ethical kennels? And then you have value-added services that go along with it. There is dog food, there is vaccination, there are dog sitters. Oh my God, he told me 12 different characteristics thereafter. Real problem. People do want in India to buy dogs. They want to buy good dogs, trained dogs. So therefore, you think about a real problem that's there. Real problem today, I'm going to the other extreme end, is to look at what is happening with patients in India. India has today the highest ratio between patient to doctor. For every patient, every doctor, we have 10,000 patients in this country. That's the ratio. So therefore, can I now think about an idea by which this doctor still continues to service 10,000 patients, we can't kill them, but can he efficiently do that? Can I find this? That's a real problem, right? We have online education that came into existence. That's a real problem. We wanted more content, content which is of high quality, available online for people, for people to learn from any time, anywhere. And that's how online education came into existence. So think about a real problem and think about a unique solution that goes along with it. It cannot be that somebody else can copy. A number of people come even today to some of the startup sessions that occasionally I sit on, and they'll tell you that, look, I want to create one more Zomato food delivery system. You ask this question, how do you do this? Sir, I'll use faster vehicles, deliver faster. Your competition can buy a faster vehicle than you, and what happens to you thereafter? I pay better. Your margins erode. You'll disappear very quickly. So if you are trying to think about a solution, think about a solution which has not been heard so far. It has to be unique. I'm sure a number of people are electrical engineers. An idea that somebody is trying out right now is that you actually can see the signature of the current flowing in the wire using an IoT device to find out which is the device which is consuming that power. The waveform gives you a clear picture of who is consuming, and you can then measure how much is being consumed. And then you can thereafter decipher, so where is the leak that's happening? Which is the most inefficient part of your plant, for instance? Or even your home. Does refrigerator consume more? Or does the geyser consume more? Or it's air conditioner which is consuming more? Or each one of them have a different signature as far as the current is concerned. So if you can get a unique solution of that nature, you'll stand your stead for a long time. So then comes the next thing is, no company is done by one individual, right? You have to work in teams. So your ability to attract talent and make sure this talent sticks on to you and work together, collaborate. We live in a world which is collaboration at this point of time. We live in a world of collaboration. You collaborate to ensure that your solution and the team provide something which is very unique, which will stand the stead of time and becomes very, very attractive for people to create, people to buy. The other thing is that if you have a problem that you're looking at, you should also look at what is the addressable market that I have. How many people will buy it? If only people in my street will buy it, that's a very small market. That's the TAM, as it's called, total addressable market. I looked at this proposition 30 years back of saying, what is my idea for a startup? My idea for a startup is we provide technology as a service for the Western world. We had skills in India. We certainly had cost arbitrage. Literally, the cost of a skill total cost, if you look at loaded cost, it's about 1/5 is the cost that you have for a good technology professional in India compared to the Western world. We said we'll use the cost arbitrage. And we have plenty of people. But then we also had to look at, is this a big marketplace? The answer was yes. We said, how big is it? It's $1 trillion marketplace. People spend $1 trillion in R&D across the world on products every year. That's the market we wanted to address. Is it a stagnant market? No, it grows at about 4.5% every year. It's almost now, since we started, we're now getting to close to about $1.8 trillion of a TAM, which is a total addressable market. So therefore, when you look at a problem that you have, you should look at how much can I address? How big can this be? You might start off small. You can actually, when you look at your solution, you might not even find your solution in one iteration. You try, find what the solution is, you find it, then you test it out, you find it has to definitely go through one more and one more and one more. So therefore, you need to have several things in place. Don't think entrepreneurship is just like taking the bag and going out and telling people that I'm becoming an entrepreneur. Several parents come to me and ask this question, sir, like you, my son also wants to become an entrepreneur. So I said, very good. I would welcome him to become to this world of entrepreneurship. And I keep saying, so what does he want to do? No, sir, he wants the idea from you. And I'm telling you, that's a sure shot way of failing as an entrepreneur. If you don't have your own idea, it has to come from you. It has to come from within you. And there are several other attributes that we can talk about. You need to be well funded. Don't try to become an entrepreneur without enough of money with you. Money by which you should raise, whether it's to start with in pre-seed stage, family and friends to go by. Thereafter, you can go to venture capitals or private equity and so on and so forth. So therefore, entrepreneurship is first and the foremost is you need to have passion in yourself. And thereafter, a number of attributes that come in, including, of course, I think I could have missed mentioning a couple of very important ones, is that you have to have the ability to take risks. I met with your chairman and your principal before I came here, and they were asking what's the conversion rate of entrepreneurs in this country. And I was saying it is still not very high. We think the number is somewhere between 2 to 3% from the graduating engineering classes. Because we graduate somewhere in the range of about 110,000 engineers every year across the country. So one of the things I was saying was that what is stopping people becoming entrepreneurs is also the risk-taking ability. And you should take risks for sure, because only when you start taking the risk, you learn. Failure does not mean you failed in life. You failed in a project. There's a fairly large amount of learning that comes out of it. In my company, we keep saying we celebrate failures. We celebrate learnings from failures. And the other thing which is important is if you truly want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have the leadership capabilities. Because there's nobody else to go and ask, saying that, what do I do in this situation? They might give you advice, but they won't take a decision for you. Or the other one is persistence, because the moment you come back with a failure, it cannot be that you say, this is all it, I'm packing my bags and going away from here. Persist with the idea. Several times in my life, last 30 years especially, I've been in the professional area for 50 years now, getting close to 50 years. I graduated out of IIT Kanpur in 1973. So it's just about 50. And then, of course, I went back to school again to Michigan. But there is nobody behind you in terms of trying to take a decision for you. You're the final decision maker. They can give you advice, all right. But you can't be saying that somebody will give me advice, no. So you need to have that leadership quality of saying, I'm a good decision maker. I can lead people with integrity, and I have the skill in making sure people collaborate and cooperate. So think about entrepreneurship. Think about it as not something which is very difficult, but think about it as something which you need to be prepared before you jump into it. Certainly, what do I see as the ecosystem now? I'm going to stop in another 5 minutes, and then I'll open the floor for all of you. Yep, I should stop, right. What do I see as the ecosystem is far, far different from what people like me saw, or people like me even ahead of me saw. Actually, I had this ambition of becoming an entrepreneur much earlier than when I started. I actually was a professional. I worked for somebody for 18 years. Literally 8 years I was a line manager, but thereafter I became a CEO of a company at a very young age. For 10 years, I ran the company, which was a computer system integration company, before I decided I'll be on my own. But what we are seeing at this point of time is that the ease of doing business has changed quite dramatically. If you go and read my book, I talk all about how the license Raj used to be in the good old days. And there's some hilarious stories I talk about. But today, it's much better. Ease of doing business has dramatically improved in this country. We certainly have seen infrastructure improving also quite a bit. In summer months, even in a city like Hyderabad 10 years back, my whole offices, we have several facilities in Hyderabad. All around Hyderabad facilities, there used to be diesel generator sets. Why? Because there was no power. And so we had to run diesel gen sets all around us. Because air conditioning is required for people, air conditioning, because that's how the whole architecture was done. We require machines to be cooled, and you require servers to be at very, very climate-friendly environment. But whereas today, even the peak summer months, I'm not using even 1 watt of power from gensets. It's only occasionally there's an accidental failure that happens once in a while. That's when we use the power. So you also have, and then you look at money. At that point of time, there used to be just 2 funding agencies in India. One was called IDBI Venture Capital Fund, VCF, and the other one was called ICICI TDF, Technology Development Fund. Whereas I assure you, they're dime a dozen at this point of time in terms of providing you funds, so long as you have an idea which can be tested for time, a solution which is going to be addressing a large market, a solution which has got a large, unique distinction by itself. But I think lastly, let me conclude by saying, I think the timing is absolutely perfect for you to become an entrepreneur. And the reason is, I talked about the environment, but equally important is you're all technology graduates. We haven't seen technology at the pace at which it is today anywhere in my lifetime. I can now make the disclosure, I'm 73 years old. I've been in technology for the last 50 years. I ran companies for the last 40 years. As CEO, I never have seen technology acceleration at what it is today. And there doesn't seem to be any slowing down. Gordon Moore in 1974 wrote what is called as Moore's Law. Can my young friends help me? What's Moore's Law? Electrical engineering, computer science, computer engineering, computer information systems. What did Gordon Moore say in 1974? Dr. Ravindra, I am disappointed. What Gordon Moore said in 74 was for every 18 months, the amount of wafer, the silicon that can be packed, will double itself, which means the computing power will become twice. it'll become half in size and half in cost. 2 times the power, half the size, and half the cost. In 2003, 30 years later, people went ahead to say whether Gordon Moore was right or wrong. And they found Gordon Moore was wrong. Why? It doesn't take 18 months any longer. It takes less than 18 months for computers to become twice as powerful as they were. They're becoming cheaper. They're becoming smaller. So therefore, what we think is now, even if you look at future, we said 2023, now we are in 2003, now 2023. Even now, it's the same thing. Quantum computing coming in, we'll see a quantum leap in terms of power of technology. How many of you use ChatGPT? Very good. Are you doing your homework using ChatGPT? Yes, be brave if you want to put up your hand. Yes. How much of your homework is done by ChatGPT? 100%? No. That's copying. That's copying now. Take the help of ChatGPT. 60% good. Good answer. So therefore, I think if you look at ChatGPT, you pose a question. I'm sure several hands went up. Even the most complicated question you can pose, how many seconds does it take to come out? Very few seconds, right? At times I blink my eyes and then the answer is already there. What does it mean? You people have to think about how much of our computing power that's there at the back end. Not just the computing power. The second one is the communication capability that goes on. The ability to communicate is something which has also become a thing that is integral part of our lives. How many people have used a landline? How many of you? Wow, that's impressive. The other day I showed my granddaughter a landline machine and she said, how do I use it? It had that rotary ring and she didn't even know how to do that. I belong to a generation where I'm glad some people lifted their hand, but I belong to a generation I waited for 7 years to get a phone. And today we saw most of you putting up your hands when I said, do you have a mobile phone or a smartphone with you? But tell me one thing, how many of you have 2 phones with you? Put your hands up, 1, 2, 3. Number of hands have come down in the recent past. Why is it? Because the dual SIM phones have come in. Look at the luxury you have. And to give you a flavor, because of connectivity, the ability to communicate has increased so much. There's 7 billion people in the world. 5 billion people now have a mobile phone or a smartphone. About 80% have smartphones out of the total phones that are there. But very important is the fact now machines are communicating with machines. And they're all on the same network as you do. So what is happening is that 20 billion things and people communicate at this point of time, and the power of that network it's called power of 2. That is, if you and I communicate with each other, it's 2 people, 2 to the power of 2. The power of our network is just 4. Now think about a 20 billion square. That's the power of the network the world has with it. Equally important is the speed of communication. I'm sure you people have heard about 5G technologies. But what we are working in IIT Hyderabad right now is 6G technologies. With 5G itself, we today have latency less than 1 millisecond that I can do online surgeries. It's not online consulting. I go back to that question I raised earlier, where a doctor is servicing 10,000 patients. If you give them an ability to now do surgeries online, it will be much faster. Somebody else is prepping them before the specialist comes to do the surgery. So communication is improving. We're also seeing these ugly looking devices called sensors. They become dime a dozen. And they can sense many things better than human beings, especially on vision. They can do vision, they can have the feel, they can hear, they can smell, they can taste, like human beings do. And doing better in certain, especially in case of vision. They can see X-rays much better than a common eye of a doctor. So therefore, and then we also have on top of that, we just mentioned about ChatGPT, there is AI coming, AR, VR, just not computing technologies. You look at manufacturing technologies, 3D printing, sustainability, EVs, genomics, biotechnology. So therefore, technology provides you many more opportunities too for you to think about becoming an entrepreneur. On that count, let me say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity one more time. And let me conclude by saying I am past. What I see in front of my eyes is my future. And the fact that I see so many shining eyes and smiling faces makes me believe that my future and your future is in safe hands. God bless you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
We have an exciting fireside chat coming up with two distinguished individuals in the entrepreneurial world. Joining us today is Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy, a groundbreaking startup, and moderating this engaging conversation is none other than Mr. Ganesh, founder of Gen Speaks. Ravi Kabra's innovative journey and Ganesh's insightful expertise are sure to make this fireside chat a valuable learning experience. Stay tuned for an enriching conversation that promises to spark new ideas and inspire budding entrepreneurs. So I would kindly request them to come onto the stage for the session.
Right, channel.
Morning, guys. Did you have your lunch? Good. I won't find people sleeping on the seats then. In case if your friends are still outside, happy to see them. Come inside so that we can have a better interaction. I know I'm taking his part over here, but that's what I always do. How many of you guys have actually tried Skippy? Just a handful of you. Don't worry, we have set up a stall for you guys outside. That's the incentive you get to stick around. All right, so after the session, I'm sure you guys can enjoy Skippy after the session, which will give you some more energy to work around.
So before we start this session, I would like to congratulate the team of EAD 2023 for conducting this massive event across the whole of India and for their effort to bring together the titans of the Indian entrepreneurship scene. So a big round of applause, guys. And also, I would like to thank Manasa, Arjun, Mr. Vamshi Kurapati as well, who is not here, for giving me this opportunity and this space to sit over here and interact with such huge enigmas in the entrepreneurship field right now. So thank you for that. And so the time has finally come. We are having the fireside chat with Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy Ice Pops, and I guess the only co-founder to bring in all the 5 sharks to invest in his startup. So a very big round of applause, guys. Yeah. So, sir, before I got on the main stage yesterday, I was talking to Mr. Bharat, your team member, and then I asked him a question. What is that one quality that defines Mr. Kabra as an individual? And he answered with the word saying perseverance. And from all the interviews and podcasts that I've been through, I've understood that, you have this quality of being very cool, very composed, and I feel that you know how to handle yourself under pressure. So from where did you get that quality? And also, is this an unlabeled benefit of Skippy Ice Pops?
I guess so. But yes, I think for every entrepreneur, perseverance is the only word which will keep you driving. It's very important to understand that life of an entrepreneur is not going to be as easy as it seems all the time. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And when you're on the top, you'll find everything is working great for you. You know, you touch the sand and it turns out to be gold. But when you're on downside of your business, when things are not going great, even in your personal life or in your professional life, perseverance is the only thing that I could probably think of. Because you got to keep pushing yourself. There will be at times that will break you down completely. You will feel like you want to sit down and just think about winding up, crying, or even you're under so much of pressure that you will probably even think about giving up. Unless and until you are very persevering in terms of ki nahi karna hai, it is going to be a very hard journey for anybody. And I think that is what drives me as an entrepreneur. I know as every brand will have a good time and a bad time, Skippy will also have a good time and bad time, but perseverance as a leader of the pack is the only thing that can drive me. My team wants to see me continuing to focus and continuing to push all the time. And yes, I've been a very calm guy. Probably at the stage today, yes, you might find it so. Maybe come back to my office, you might find a different Ravi there. But yes, got to be cool. My product is cool, so I got to be cool as well. I stay that way, and that helps me work. Because under pressure, if you tend to succumb and show your vigor in terms of anger or anguish, I don't think that's going to be benefiting anybody, neither just me from a health point of view. So I try to stay calm under the pressure and try to find a solution out of it. And perseverance is something that keeps driving me inch by inch, even if I'm like really, really vexed up with things, but still keep pushing myself every day.
Well, that's amazing. Well, that's great, sir. So, for anybody to inculcate these qualities, there should be some sort of childhood experiences or the way that you were brought up that matters. So, do you have anything that, that interested you as a child that made you, be over here, like the place where you are?
See, it's very important. Sometimes we fail to understand the family brought up that we actually come up across. As a kid, I've always been on a dining table where my father and my mom used to talk business all the time. Aaj itna bada problem ho gaya, aaj utna nuksan ho gaya, aaj itna profit ho gaya, and stuff like that. So we have been raised in a family where we always speak business throughout the day. And after business comes a question ki, beta aaj din kaisa tha? That is a secondary question for my father. He had been very focused and persevering in terms of his ambitions, but that does not need to stop anybody from dreaming about being an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that only because you come from a family business you can be a good entrepreneur. Please, I'm not even advocating that statement here. I am just talking about the way I grew up. My parents were pretty into a business family, and many a times I keep saying this in college fest and speeches where I kept being called upon, that sometimes we tend to ignore the fact that family businesses, whether your dad or your mom is sitting in a kirana store, whether she is a cloth merchant, whether she's got a beauty salon or whatever, if she's been running it for 10s and 20s of years, she has got the fundamental right of running a business in profitability. And we tend to ignore that fact. We see things ki ye to bahut chota sa business hai, ye to koi bhi kar lega. Nahin, that's not the fact. The fact is that running family business is one of the most toughest things, and I think I respect now my father to what he was doing for last 3 decades. As a kid, probably I never realized that. So as a kid, I've always been brought up in this family, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be honest. Even today, I don't see myself going and working for someone. I might earn less today, make less money, but I'm at least proud of whatever I'm doing for myself. That's the way I'm.
Yep. So, well, that's a really great answer from sir. So, you spoke about family businesses and, what you've learned from that. So can you tell us any 1 or 2 experiences that you went through while you were building your family businesses? that actually help you grow Skippy? So any 1-2 powerful experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be very honest, I've been very bullish about saying that I've got family business values with me. Sometimes people think this to be a little downtrodden kind of a statement. But honestly, I'll tell you what, in today's era, the family business values are the most important thing that probably is not even taught in business schools. My fundamentals that my father taught me are still helping me run the show. First thing was credit nahi dene ka. You know, my father was very clear about it. Business kam karo, lekin credit mat do, kyunki udhari jaise hi dete ho, you'll have to keep chasing the people around for even $500. And that was my principle from day one. I will grow slow. I will not even grow probably if required, but I'm not going to be chasing people for my own money. So I kept focusing on creating a policy around my business, which made me more sustainable. Today, we are 100% advance payment business. I mean, it sounds very, it sounds probably least important, but it is very important for you to work on your numbers, your capital, operating cash flows very much. So that is one value my father said. Second, my dad has always kept goodwill in more important than profitability. My dad says that the goodwill that you are creating in the market by being a genuine entrepreneur, by being a genuine businessman, will take you miles further, even if you're not doing good. But if you screw up your goodwill in the market, then nothing is going to be actually helping you out. When times go bad, your goodwill actually will help you get funds from people, maybe investment from people, or even any kind of a credit line or any kind of a opportunity from people. But goodwill was very important for him. And more importantly, it was always, he always focused on one thing, that unit economics has to be very profitable. You know, whether you guys are talking about getting into a service industry, creating an IT platform, a tech platform, or you're getting into a product, or an F&B entrepreneur like myself, the unit economics is very important. At what cost am I acquiring a customer? Am I making profit out of it or not? At what cost am I giving this service? Am I making profitability at every cost or not? That is absolutely very important. People today tend to forget the basic principle of business, which is making profit. We are just talking about giving service, giving a solution for a problem that we think it is important. But everything to be sustainable, like how we talk about recycling a plastic today, making planet Earth very sustainable, business needs sustainability, and that can come only from profitability. So that is the unit economics that my father focused. Based on these three principles, I think I started off my business. And by God's grace, we are doing decently enough today.
Decently enough is a very small word over here. But then, yes, sir. So, I'm asking very bluntly, so were there any mistakes that you've did in the past that, you know, from which you had massive learnings and that you applied in Skippy right now?
Yeah, I think, see, firstly, to the audience, I am going to be very raw and blunt in whatever I say. I do not like to sugarcoat anything, because as a young student in a college, I believe that you should be guided in the right path. I don't want to glamorize everything and put you on a path and only later you realize ki yaar kya kar diya maine. So yes, coming to your question, absolutely, there were a lot of mistakes that I've done in the past. First of all, when I was in my father's business, we were into manufacturing of biscuits and exports of a lot of F&B products, right? One of the mistakes that I always did was I assumed that I was growing the business. I did not give the credit to my father, because say my father was doing X crores of business or X number of business. I made it to X square or X to the power of 3 or 4. But I always felt that it was me who was doing the entire thing. But I forgot the fact that the fundamental base of the business has been laid by my father. I was only growing on top of it. Like it's like laying down the foundation of an apartment and then adding 2 more extra floors on top of it. That 2 extra floors started to hit my head. I thought that I was doing amazing work there. But for every successful entrepreneur to grow, the fundamental base of a business is very, very important. Whether you're joining your dad's, your mother's business, your family business, or whether you're starting something of your own, the fundamental is very, very important. And apart from that, this thing what happened, I'll go a little in detail, is, based on that proud thought that I am building the business, I started something of my own. And unfortunately, I crashed onto it. I literally burned a lot of money, made huge losses. And that is when I realized that it was not me who was building my business, but rather my father's business was getting built and I was just contributing to it. So I've learned a lot of mistakes. One of the most important business ideas that I've learned is do not scale up too fast. If you try and scale up too fast, the chances of you shaking across your path and crashing down is much more going to be higher. Probably look for a small growth, slow growth, but a strong growth. That is very important.
That's great.
I think he needs an extra mic now, or probably. Thanks.
So, well, that is something that we all have to learn, to never scale as fast as possible, slow down, and also take your time. So now, sir, let's talk about Skippy. So how did the idea of Skippy come into your head? How did you plan on commoditizing a market, a multi-million-dollar market in the West, and how did you come up with the idea and how did you do that?
Firstly, correction, it's a multi-billion-dollar market out there, not a million. So see, how many of you guys want to be an entrepreneur going forward? You have got some ideas that you're already thinking through, right? Awesome. So see, the good trait of an entrepreneur is that you will always keep looking for ideas. You will walk across the street and you will be like, hey, why don't I create this kind of an app? Why don't I create this kind of a tech product and stuff like that, right? Similar thing with me. I was living in Australia. I wanted to come back for personal reasons back to India. And like I said, I never enjoyed working for somebody else. Though I was working for somebody else in Australia, that's a different story. I wanted to come back and I was thinking of good ideas, you know. I actually came across a lot of other ideas which were very profitable, very money-making kind of an idea. But a kick dorkaled naku. I didn't get that kick. And I wanted to have that kick. Excitement undali. Emana cheste, we have to be very, very excited about what we do. And I was sitting there like, you know, thinking about ideas, and I'm sitting here in my living room. My sister, who had come down to live with us in Australia with her kids for summer, she started to pack some local ice popsicles in a suitcase. And I'm like, Didi, why are you even packing this? I'm sure you've got a lot of brands in India. And then she turns around and said, not even a single brand, Ravi, that I can trust for my kids. And as an entrepreneur, that is the opportunity which whispers in your ears. Sometimes the opportunity is sitting right next to you guys, but you guys are getting blinded. You want to have something better and better and bigger. In my case, that simple statement of my sister turned the entire story for me, and I started to think, it's such a simple product, it's such a wantable product, why is not somebody making it in a country like India? And I started to do my research, only to realize that a country like Australia, which is not so hot as India, UK, which is colder than India, summer in UK is about, I think, 18, 22 degrees, something like that. And then you've got Canada, US, which are having $1 billion ice popsicle industry, and a country with 1.4 billion people in India, hottest and humid, nobody wanted to do it. So somehow people ignored that idea, or it never occurred to them. And as an entrepreneur, this was the kick I wanted. This was the excitement I wanted. I jumped straight into it. And eventually Skippy was born. We started with a lot of ideas through what flavors we should get into, what are the pain points, what are the solutions that I can offer. And that is how step by step the conceptualization of Skippy happened in Australia itself. We moved back to India, and then that's how Skippy started.
Well, that's amazing. So I have a bit of a lengthy question, so I'm using my paper to read it out. How was the learning experience while building Skippy? From working in an Australian company to learning about FSS AI regulations and understanding the business of packaged foods, what kind of research did you do? And how did it feel to relive the student days of, you know, studying a huge market and then coming up with research and everything?
The most important point I'd like to say here is, I know a lot of people say it is good to be jack of all, but unfortunately for an entrepreneur, it is a king of one industry that matters the most. You cannot be a great chemist and then look at doing an MBA, then look at doing chartered accountancy, and then trying to figure out what in the hell do you want to do in your life. It doesn't work that way. Because if you have got into a segment which you love, of course, if you don't love a segment, please shift on to something that you love. But if you've got into something which you love, you need to give your 5, 10, 20 years of life in the same industry, in the same format. That is where you will get appreciated in the market. Imagine if I had 5 years of experience doing chartered accountancy with numbers, 5 years of experience where I was working for a construction company, and then 5 years of work of some other advocate or something. People would have thought me to be crazy. But the consistency, what we did was, I have got 17, 18 years of experience in the F&B space itself. Anuja, my co-founder, and my wife, she has got another 14 years of experience in the F&B space itself. So we have built our complete understanding and expertise in a particular industry. Today, if somebody comes and tells me, Ravi, can you build a fintech startup? I will tell you I'll be the biggest disaster in that, because that's not my expertise. I love the F&B space. I built myself on the F&B space, and that is why I could understand how to develop this category. So coming to your question, yes, this is how I think I realized that what are the standards of FSSI, or what are the basic standards, what are the pain points in the industry that I need to answer. So just to give a little depth understanding, when I was sitting in Australia, even before coming back to India, I knew that, first of all, India, if I start selling Skippy in a frozen format, I will never succeed. Because logistics in a cold storage is very expensive in India, very, very complex. So that was my first pain point that I had written down on a paper. Second, I have said very clearly that, okay, in case if somebody is biting on the ice pops, it should not be as hard as an ice cube, because then it will start hurting your teeth and the entire experience of enjoying Skippy will fade away. So that was my second point, that when consumers buy the ice pops and they bite on it, it should be soft and crunchy. Then the third point, I was observing that India had evolved into a consumer state which believes in natural, organic, healthy supplements and stuff like that. So that was our third pain point that we had written down, that it should not be anything synthetic or artificial which people are hesitant to consume. So that is what we met down. And then we talked about branding, because people love packaging and branding these days. So that is the fourth point. So this is how your 15 years of experience and expertise in particular domain will help you. If you are a tech geek, and if you believe that you are great at technology, stick to it if you love it. And you will realize that in the next 10 to 15 years, your value in the market will go exponentially high. You will see that if you're getting into an entrepreneurship, you will be able to find solutions like this, because you know what the problems are in the first place. So that's how I focus on being. In a personal life, I want to play all the sports, right? I'm not good in any sport. I'm good in average in all the sports. But when it comes to professional life, I wanted to stick to just one domain all the time.
What Sir said is very profound. And also this is what Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Mr. Naval Ravikant also says. You have to play long-term games so that you can adapt and be better at what they do. So I have one more question that I wanted to ask you, sir. So can you tell us about any key business decisions that you have taken while building Skippy? Also, can you tell us how did you come up with those decisions? Did you use any mental models, or did you have anything in your head while you were going through the decision?
As a startup, one thing we all will always have common, we will never have funds. Let's agree to that, right? Father nunchi, mother nunchi oppu teeskoni, we have started something, and we'll always have that pain in our heart that we have to return back those funds. So funds has always been a problem there. But in terms of what I have learned, is that what your question is, right?
Exactly.
I think the first and the fundamental important thing, guys, whoever is starting off, please understand one thing. Do not start a startup with the hope of getting an investment. This is very, very, very important. Guys, please come out of the myth that investment is standing outside the door for you. You will go there and you will get it. You will not get it. 97% of the people who get into startups will never get funded. That is the statistics I'm talking about, okay? If you look at India, there are tens and thousands of startups coming every year. Today, Startup India, the website has got 87,000 startups registered. Let's understand that not 87,000 of them are getting funded. So first of all, the myth that investment is right next to you is a myth. Do not start a business because you are assuming investments will come to you. It will not. I have been to a lot of colleges where students believe that I've got an idea, I'll work on it and investment to mil jayega. Nahi milega, boss. It is one in hundreds of people who will get investment. Second important thing is whatever business you are getting into, like I said, think from a family business point of view. Get your fundamental process and procedures right. Think about profitability on day one, not after day 100. because profitability is only what is going to make you sustainable for a longer time. Look at all these big brands. I don't want to name them today over here in this on this platform, but the guys who were hero back then now are struggling to survive. You would have heard tens and hundreds of startups who have already closed doors because they were not even profitable. They couldn't sustain their own growth. एक चीज, आई वांट टू से दिस इन हिंदी, इन्वेस्टर का पैसा बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए चाहिए, बिजनेस चलाने के लिए नहीं. You understand the difference? बिजनेस बढ़ाने, फॉर अ ग्रोथ यू नीड एन इन्वेस्टमेंट विच इज अंडरस्टैंडेबल, बट बिजनेस चलाने के लिए यार आज मुझे सैलरीज देना है, आज मुझे रेंट देना है, आज मुझे वो देना है, उसके लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट कभी रेज नहीं करते. सो गाइज, दिस इज वेरी टू इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग्स. आई वुड से today, in today's scenario, they call it as a funding winter. We all have heard this term, right? Today, only those businesses are getting funded which are profitable. Investors are running towards them. Ki yaar, aap profitable ho, I want to invest in you. And these profitable businesses have the nice, time today to decide which investors they should pick money from. So, if you guys are profitable, if you are making 1 lakh rupees profit, 5 lakh rupees profits, doesn't matter. But profitability will give you a long run. In that run, if you believe that now it is a time for you to scale pan-India, global level, that is the time you should reach out to an investor, and every investor will be interested in funding you because they know the fact that irrespective whether I give him funds or not, this bugger is going to make his business $1 million business. That's very important.
That's an excellent answer, sir. So, looking ahead, where do you see Skippy going 5 years or 10 years down the line? This is a very interview kind of question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years down the lane? But then, yeah, 5 years or 10 years down the lane.
Look, I think the way we have positioned ourselves, first of all, guys, how many of you have seen Shark Tank India, or how many of you have seen us on that? Good, right? I had made a very clear statement even on television that we are not a health brand. I'm not going to be selling a popsicle to you and say, have this popsicle and you will grow 2-inch taller. Or you will not have diabetes, or you will not have this and that, right? I have positioned myself very clearly that we are a fun brand. People want fun in life today. After COVID, hundreds of F&B brands started all talking about health, and unfortunately 95% of them are so horrible to taste that after a bite I cannot have the second bite. Do you guys agree with me or not? Yeah? So we positioned ourselves very clearly that we are a fun brand, and we've started to add to the fun story by adding more and more products. And we are an offline brand, which makes us more sustainable. Today, all the D2C, online only, yo-yo kind of brands are struggling because they are not profitable. D2C, it's very difficult to be profitable. We are offline brand, and the way we have grown today. So pre-Shark Tank, we were a team of 14 people. Today, we are close to about 280 to 300 people across India. We were in about 700-800 or 1,000 plus stores pre-Shark Tank. We are in 22,000 stores today. We are doing more than 7,000-8,000 pin codes through Zepto and Swiggy as well. So I think the structure is perfectly aligned. If you ask me what in the next 5 to 10 years, I cannot say what is happening in the next 10 years, but at least in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we will be a 1,000 crore plus brand in terms of our revenues, which is very much possible because our fundamentals are right, our team is aligned, everybody understands that the space that where we are playing is a very, very unique category that we are trying to develop. And 20 rupees कौन खर्च नहीं करता यार आज if somebody wants to have an ice popsicle, he will not think कि 20 रुपए के लिए मैं लोन लूँ या क्या करूँ. He'll bring out 20 rupees and have it instantly. So I know that the entire India, 1.4 billion people are my customers today. Uttar Pradesh, if I take Uttar Pradesh, 22 crore population, 2-3 European countries समा जाएंगे उसमें, right? So I am very confident. 4 to 5 years that is the number we are aiming at, probably 1,000 crore.
Whoa.
Thank you.
So, thank you for bringing up Shark Tank, sir, because that was my next question. So, scoring investments from all the 5 sharks, it's obviously an incredible feat. So, could you share your initial expectations from Shark Tank, and what do you think convinced all the 5 sharks to invest in you?
Firstly, my disclaimer, okay? Shark Tank is not scripted. Before you guys have that thought, because I know a lot of people would be thinking, yaar, ye to scripted hai, ye to dialogues diye gaye hai, falana. Absolutely not. In fact, we were in the season 1, right? At least season 2 and season 3 guys know who the sharks are. In my case, I mean, we were there for 3 days. 1 day was quarantine because it was the COVID time during then. And then 2 days we had rehearsals, and the 3rd day we had the shoot. So we didn't even know who the sharks were. Somebody said, Anupam Mittal, and then I had to Google who is Anupam Mittal. I did not know, honestly. Until we got onto the set, we did not know who the sharks were. So the entire experience of being on Shark Tank was extraordinarily good because it was very nervousing because we were extremely nervous. Why? Because 2 days of our shoot, when the other startups went for pitching, none of them, like 8 startups went inside a day earlier. None of them got funded. Then on our day, 6 startups went to the pitch. None of them got funding. And we were like so nervous कि यार इतने बड़े startups है, कोई सोलार में है, कोई टेक में है, कोई इसमें, हम तो साला पॉप्सिकल बेच रहे, कौन ले देगा इन्वेस्टमेंट? That was the kind of attitude we had. And we were nervous that we probably won't get any funding. So we went onto the set and Anuja and I had clearly decided, we'll just give it a best shot. And अगर TV पे आ जाते हैं तो imagine startup को इससे ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए? That 15 minutes on Sony prime time is worth 8 crore rupees, nothing more or nothing less. So how many of us can actually spend 8 crores? None of us, right? Probably as a startup. So we thought कि funding मिले ना मिले भैया TV पे आना चाहिए. That was the clear agenda. And when we went inside, our pitch was perfect. We were trying to hold on to our Hyderabadi Hindi. वरना उनको, नक्को, इनको बोले तो, it would have sounded very funny on television again. So we did our pitch and we immediately saw that there was some excitement. And this is one thing which I always do. I bribe people with popsicles. So if you see, immediately after the pitch I said, Sharks, क्या आप हमारे ice popsicle try करना चाहेंगे? And I we passed on the ice popsicles to everyone, Skippy, and Ashneer started to enjoy, Namita enjoyed, and blah blah. And from every corner, from the Sharks, we started to hear good things about the ice pops. Oh, I love it. And that gave us a confidence. I'm like, oh my God, thank God nobody shouted at us, say कि ये क्या कचरा बना दिया and all that. And after that, the important thing which is an entrepreneur we need to understand, not just on Shark Tank, but even for a venture capitalist pitch or if you're pitching to investors will look for one question to corner you. They might talk about your GMV, they might talk about your acquisition cost, they might talk about your way to profitability, any question. Or they might even talk about your personal failure in the past and they'll corner you. If you get cornered, that is where they'll keep banging you onto, and that will go downside for you in the entire pitch. You got to be prepared for your pitch thoroughly. If you, of course, our pitch on Shark Tank was given only 15 minutes to be aired, but we were there inside 45 minutes. There were startups which were there inside for 1.5 hours also. So there's a lot of grilling inside. And that would happen with any pitching. So you need to know your numbers in and out. You need to know your math. You need to know your business process perfectly. And I think we knew that perfectly. And that is why right from Ashneer to all the way to Aman and everybody loved it. And I thought that everybody is looking excited to invest. And I am a startup who is selling popsicles here. I need to do something extraordinary here. And I suddenly got an idea that why don't I become the first startup to have all the 5 sharks investing. And if you see my video, you'll see there that I am suggesting to Aman, aap sabhi kyun nahi aa jate? And Aman was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And that is how I got everybody on board, and it created the maximum buzz a startup could get across India.
That's an extremely smart way to do that. 5 sharks, 1 go, full marketing.
Absolutely. Free of cost.
Free of cost. And I have this doubt specifically. They give, 1 crore for 1% equity and something like that. And then do they actually give you a lot of time to go out, sit down, discuss, call up your people, do the math and then come back? Or
I hope you're not recording this. Just kidding. So look, it's basically that it's a win-win situation for both of the investors and the investee. When you are working hard in growing your brand, obviously the sharks would also want to associate with you because they would also feel pride and pride that I have mentored this brand and they are growing XYZ. At the same time, we are happy that they are connecting with us and we feel privileged about it as well. But sharks are very straightforward and clear that they will give time and efforts to those young startups who have just probably passed out of college, who needs a little more of hand-holding. And like I said, Anuja and I have come with 30 years of experience ourselves. So in a very casual, candid way, Anupam had told me, Ravi, हमने Skippy के बारे में सोचना छोड़ दिया है, because I think you guys are doing what you know, doing good enough, and you know what you're doing. So rather we will spend our time with those guys who are needed more. But again, everybody's in touch with me. In fact, last week itself, I had a call with a few of the sharks. They keep checking with us whether we need any help or not. If not them directly, their team will get in touch with us. So it's a great exercise for us in terms of mentoring as well. There are a lot of times when you hit a roadblock, you're hitting a wall and you do not know whether I should do this or I should do that. And that is why probably I would reach out to any one of the sharks. I remember going down to Piyush's house, Ashnir's house, Anupam's office, I've been to Vinita's, Namita's office, everybody's places, right? Aman's office. Everybody has a different persona, different way of approaching a startup issue. And they give their strategic thoughts to us. And obviously as an entrepreneur, it is us who has to decide what idea to pick, or probably scrap up all of them and do what you want to do. But they've been pretty helpful, I would say.
Oh, so you went down to Ashnir's house.
Absolutely.
Is there that 5 crore big gold table that everybody said conspired about?
I think that's a good PR that happened around it, but I don't think that's the case.
Okay. So, you had 5 sharks investing in you. So, did you face any pressure? Because, there are 5 huge sharks investing in you, and did you face any pressure? And also, did they was there any one piece of advice that any shark gave you that that stood out for you?
Not really that I was any kind of a pressure. I'll be very honest, Sharks has been very kind to let us do our business the way we want to do it. Of course, they have complete right and obligation towards us to give us a good advice. Whether the advice fits into our business strategy or not, that is something that I need to decide. But they have been very, very supportive to us. And one of the good advices that Piyush has also had given me during one of my visits to him, this is something that even you guys should understand, that there are going to be competitions everywhere, okay? Probably tomorrow, Skippy will not be the only brand making ice popsicles. There are going to be 4 or 5 of them. There is a Google Pay, so there is a Phone Pay, then there is a Bharat Pay, then there is everything extra pays, right? There is not one single brand which is ruling India. So the only differentiator, and this is what Piyush told me, the differentiator between you and the other brand is going to be your team. The team which you are working on, how you receive a customer, how you deploy your marketing stunt, how you talk to your channel partners, and how you promote yourself, everything depends on a team. So focus on building a team, and obviously the success will become much more easier, because the other startups who get into the similar space may not have a good team. They may not reciprocate the same way that your team is doing. Every inch, if you see about Skippy, the way my marketing team has done branding, whether it is the box, it is the bike, EV bike that we have launched, or even the presentation across events, we focus a lot about how the brand is presented and positioned. So that is the outcome of a team. So I have always tried to be a very team-centric person, trying to give all the credits to my team, and I think that is a very important thing, statement, that the team will differentiate you from your competitors.
This is something that all of us should remember, guys, because as we grow up, we make startups, and then a team is extremely important. Have like 5 to 6 very close people with you. So, sir, given your involvement with startup investments, and I'm sure you have invested in a few companies, so what do you look for in the founder while you're investing? So what key qualities define, the founder?
I think first of all, I like to find a founder who is very grounded. There are a lot of founders who will say, I can do this also, I can do that also, I can do the entire world, I can do blah, blah, blah. No investor would want to have an unrealistic founder. Founders need to be very grounded and be very straightforward in the saying that what he or she can do, what he or she cannot do. It's always good to be very transparent on that fact. Secondly, there are a lot of startups who start at a particular service or a product, but then they, in the initial days itself, try to do too many things there. They will add this feature, they will add that product, they will add this and that. I don't think that is a good approach. First thing, get your basics right. Grow your building, your platform or your business to X level. And then once you start making good revenue, you become a little sustainable, then you try to add more features onto it. So I try to talk to a lot of founders to tell them and guide them that, don't jump into too many things on day one. I mean, when I launched ice popsicles, I did not launch the corn sticks and the cream roll and blah, blah, blah all together. First, we took at least 2 years of time to get stabilized with the ice popsicle business. Now we have started to add other products, right? So that is the right way to go. So I look at founders who are pretty grounded. Second, people who are not trying to do too many things, because too many things will spoil the entire broth itself. I would rather want you guys to focus on few good things or 1 or 2 things only, build a business and then add on top of that. And a founder who has a little bit of either education background or an experience in the same domain. Like I said, tomorrow if I go and start a fintech company, no investor will fund me because they know I know zero about fintech, right? But if I again start up a second venture in F&B space, I'm sure everybody will come and invest into me. So that domain expertise or education background. If you're an engineer and if you want to start a tech platform, I'm sure a lot of investors would be interested to fund you guys. But like I said, if you're completely off the domain, it might be hard for me to believe that you can actually survive in that space. So these 3 trends is basically what I see. And whether you're making profit immediately doesn't matter. I understand that sometimes startups take a longer time to make profit. But at least you should have a clear clarity that paisa aana kahan se, right? If you tell me, nahi sir, aap paise do to paise nahi aane wale, nobody gives you money then. That's it.
So, one last question before I end.
Yeah.
So, if you were given a time machine and you were asked to go back to your 21-year-old self, what advice will you give to your own 21-year-old self?
Wow. I hope one of you guys are building that time machine. Look, I've made a lot of mistakes in my past. I wish as a young guy, I wouldn't have made that mistakes. I don't know. Like I was telling you, in my father's business, I had the audacity to think that I was building or growing his business, but rather it was his business who was supporting my growth. After that, what happened, and I just want to cover this as a part of my failure story, because every entrepreneur has a failure story. After I came out of my father's business, I started a tech business. So this is a very good example because of what all I have said in the last few minutes. I have no background in technology, okay? I started a platform called Dial Me Guru, which was on a very similar base of Just Dial, which it is today. People used to call us up or go to our website, get the information, and my merchants would give me commissions on that. So I started that portal, again, of course, with the audacity to think that I know everything, and built on this and scaled up like mad. Matlab, I would say that in the start, 0 day to 100th day, I went from 0 employees to 300 employees straight away. And bang, 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 it went on. And unfortunately, the fundamentals were not right, and my business came crashing down. 1.3 crores gone in thin air. All the debt, all my father's money that I had taken up came onto my neck. And it turned out to be such a painful journey for me that my pride, my ego, my attitude, everything went down the drain. And I feel regretted today that I should have been a little more stable, matured enough to understand how to run a business. So I think if I had a chance to go back, I would correct those mistakes, learn a little more of myself before actually jumping down and expanding businesses too fast. And after that, that is why I took a break, went down to Australia for 7 years, worked for good employees there, learned a lot of skills, came back and then started to deploy it in Skippy today. So there are a lot of these mistakes which I regret all the time, but everybody should understand every entrepreneur is most likely to make mistakes. I'm not saying everybody will and must make mistakes, but most likely you guys are going to make mistakes. It is important that, and when you make these mistakes, Reddy garu, Abbai, Chudu, yemaitundi, what is he doing? Sorry about my Telugu. But Gupta ji ka ladka dekho kya kar raha hai, Atan ki chudandi. All that things will come in, even your building's watchman will also give you a good lesson of how to do business. That is how it is. So failures will come in our life. We need to continue just passing, understand that it's a pass of life, and then build ourselves to wait and wait until we are actually successful. Yeah.
Well, that was an exciting session. A huge round of applause, guys.
Thank you.
So now we are moving on to the Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, you can get up and ask. And also remember, this is your chance to get out of the comfort zone. We are sitting here with Mr. Ravi Kabra, so you better get up and ask questions so that that is how you get out of your comfort zone and learn something. Any questions?
Yeah, front row, I guess. Guys, ask me any questions. I'm going to give you a very raw and blunt answer, straightforward, no sugarcoating. Okay? Yeah, please, ma'am.
Yeah, Ravi. You were from the family background, you were from the business back end.
Yeah.
What would be your suggestion for the students who have the pleasure of going for a startups and other things, but they don't have a penny in their hand? They don't know what to do and how to do. They just have an idea. As a part of our Vardhaman batch, we just have that provision that we have a CIE cell and other things. But if at all it is a raw case, where then they don't have any family background with a business kind of thing, and they don't have the strategies how to take up and other things, but they have a very good idea which is going to work. They have that confidence. Then how to take up that?
Yeah, ma'am. Thanks a lot for that question. Firstly, I want to reiterate one point very clearly, that just being from a family background of business does not give any kind of a special feature, power or anything. And I'm not even discouraging anybody who is not coming from a family business background to get into entrepreneurship. It's just that sometimes that adds a little more of knowledge in terms of business. And that's about it. To answer ma'am's question here, I think, guys, when you have a business plan in hand, there are two things that we need to do. Firstly, find a mentor who is actually in the industry. It could actually be a business person who's actually doing the tech business or F&B business or construction business or whatever. You need to find a mentor who could be having 10, 12 years of experience, 20, 25 years of experience. I think anything beyond that is too senior for a startup. So these kind of mentors will give you a good hand in shaping your business and understanding the fundamentals of where you could be going right and going wrong. Do not jump into business until you get some kind of a mentor there. It is better because you will not do silly mistakes and lose your money there. Secondly, if you have actually decided who the mentor is, then probably try and have faith in him or her and learn what he or she is delivering to you. The second thing I would say is that with bare minimum money, which you can borrow from friends and families and fools, this is how we call it, friends, families and fools, you will have to borrow basic amount of money and get a prototype or a basic basic level of business up and running, where you can show to the world that, okay, I'm making 20,000 rupees a month, I'm making 50 or 1 lakh rupees a month, and work on that continuously until you realize that, okay, this is now perfectly correct. Because at this point, when you are certain that you are making basic profits, now you can go to a bigger investor and ask. And this investor doesn't have to be institutional investor. It could be an HNI. It could be really your Guptagar Abbai. It could be anybody who has little bit of net worth, who can trust you and give you, say, 5 lakhs or 50 lakh rupees, and then go to the next stage. Businesses are built in stages. It is not built across like a moonshot, right? So you will have to first get a mentor, get the fundamental business shape and right, then probably ask money from friends, families and fools. Then go to a little bit of HNI guy or girl who can have trust in you and give you 10, 20 or 50 lakhs of check. Build on top of that. Then go to an angel investor who can give you 2 crores to 5 crores of check. And then go into a VC, then go into a PE. So these are stages of business that we'll have to go to. And many times, unfortunately, the friends, families and fools money that you have taken will actually get burnt out. You will realize that you have made a fool of yourself or made a fool of them. If you got your fundamentals and business right, then you will be able to repay back your family and friends also. So this is how I would say, in very gradual steps, people need to see. There is a term called proof of concept, right? POCs. We need to see how businesses are, consumers are accepting your product or not. I'll give you an example of mine, and Anuja's just a little extended on your topic. Anuja and I, when we returned back from Australia, an NRI couple, you know what we did? When we thought with the idea of ice popsicles, every uncle and auntie came up to and says, "Kya tu ye pani ka flavored water bechenga kya ab?" Everybody has a different version. So what we did, in a simple white plastic pouches, without name, without brand name, without FSSI number, we got our ice popsicle ready, put it in a thermocol box with lot of ice. Me andar ki IMAX telsa, Prasad's IMAX. We stood in front of Prasad's IMAX and started to give free ice popsicle to people who were coming out of after watching theatre. And 40 to 50 ice popsicle went away like this. But I told Anuja then that, Anu, this is India, free mein to sab jata hai yahan pe. Let us see whether people will pay money or not. 20 rupees I started to charge them. In the next 20 minutes, 60 to 70 popsicles got sold out. And that is how I said, this is a proof of concept. A startup needs to hustle. हमें करना यही है. We have to be the watchman, we have to be the packer, we have to be the loader, we have to be the CEO. Everything we have to be. And that is a gradual growth. Even we cannot afford marketing, consultants. We cannot afford people to do great designs for us. We cannot do market research with Nielsen's or anybody else. So we are the market research ourselves. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yep. Next question.
Hello, sir. This is Sufyan. So a few minutes ago, you mentioned that only 97 in 100 out of 100%, 97% will not get any investment. And so, what's your opinion or suggestion for me to get in that top 3% to get investment?
So, I think if you want to be in the top 3%, then you have to get everything right. You have to be a dynamic entrepreneur. You need to know your business in and out. You need to be an expert in your domain. And you need to give a clear projections of growth into your investors. That, this is a 5,000 crore market out of which you can achieve 500 crores or maybe 1,000 crores of business. How are you going to give them an exit? How much multiples of money they are going to be making out of you? All these parameters have to fit in very well. Only then they might be interested in putting money into you. One of the very important things, guys, everybody should understand, most of the VCs do not invest in business, they invest in entrepreneurs. Because when you start off at A, you think that this is a business model and this is the business you want to get into. But as time goes on, your business will suddenly move into a different style, different domain, different product altogether. So they know that only a good entrepreneur can transit from from they are today to where they are after 5 years. So they invest into an entrepreneur, his skills, his mindset. So I think that is where you should focus on yourself. And again, there is no reason why everybody should go for a venture capitalist funding or anything. Guys, family businesses are one of the best. Manchiga double teeskovali, jeblo pettukovani, Mercedes nadpiyali. That is one of the best businesses to get into. No reason why we need to have investors.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions? Can we pass on the mic to the back?
I'm Stanley, sir.
Few in the back as well. Yeah, please.
I'm Stanley. My question is, what are the fundamental concepts that we have to learn before starting a business?
I think, like I said, the fundamental concept is you should be a domain expert. If you are a guy who understands textile perfectly because you've been working in that domain, I think that is one of the industries you should get into. You need to be very thorough in terms of identifying where is the gap in the industry, what is the problem, and how are you going to give a solution to that. Unless until you know this, you jumping into a domain will actually backfire you. And the second important point is you have to be very excited and passionate about whatever you're doing. Because this journey is so terribly bad, so lonely and so stressful that if you're not enjoying what you're doing every day, you will give up eventually. And that will happen. See, I gave up while I was doing Dial Me Guru because it was technology based. I didn't know any ABCD about it. But F&B, I know everything. So I have to be passionate about what I'm doing, because when the stone is hit on me and I'm going through a bad phase, my passion will drive me. कि भाई थोड़ा और कर ले, निकल जाएंगे इसमें से. So that is important. Thank you. Yes.
Afternoon, sir. I'm Laksh.
Hi, Laksh.
First thing, I love your product. Amazing.
Thank you.
So one thing I'd ask is about the sharks. I'm sure the sharks must have been really nice, but who do you think got you an edge over the others? Who helped you the most? And the other thing is, does Skippy plan anytime to go public? Anytime soon?
Okay, first part of the question, who's my favorite shark? Something similar to that. I always say, जिसने भी invest किया वो सब मेरे favorite है. ठीक है.
ऐसे तो favorite बन जाओ.
Everybody has a different perception. The way they see Skippy, the way they talk, and the way they pursue their thought processes Ashneer is a man of numbers, Piyush is a man of vision, Anupam is a man of all industries. He understands business in and out. Namita understands how to scale up businesses because she comes from a strong business family. So Vinita has got a different perception because she herself is a startup today. So everyone has a very different view about a problem and a solution towards it. I think I cannot categorically say who is my favorite or not. Whether Skippy will become an IP or not, whether we'll go public or not, I think it's too early to talk about that now. We are just growing as a startup. 4 to 5 years down the line, like I said, if you are achieving the 1,000 crore number, then why not? But at the moment, I think it's a dream too far for now. Thanks.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dhiren. I wanted to ask, what does a person do when he fails in his business? Like, failure is something which almost happens to everyone. It's not like you succeed in your first business. So, where do you go from there? How do you get back into the race?
See, I think one of the most important points which people tend to avoid is face the failures. I face it very strongly. Honestly, like I told you, आपको building का watchman भी ज्ञान देगा. I had to go and face everybody in my family, my friend circle that I have messed up, because no matter whether you try to avoid it, it will keep daunting onto you and it will hurt your ego, your pride and your self-esteem so badly that you will find it very difficult to come out of it, because you're trying to cover up your mistakes by adding more lies to your statements. नहीं ऐसा नहीं, मैं तो अच्छा कर रहा था फलाना. I don't know what. I strongly believe that when you get into a failure, it is very good that you come out and say, I did the failure, I was bad, but I think going forward I'll rectify myself in the next venture. That will give you confidence, and also it will cut down all the gossip which is going on in the circle of yours, which demotivates you. I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs who will start avoiding social circles, they'll avoid going to events and parties because people are talking about them. I would say rather go walk into that circle and say, bhai, నేను చేసేసిన ఏం పీక్తో ఇప్పుడు, talk like that. అయింది khatam. What am I supposed to do after that? This is how your attitude should be as an entrepreneur. Nobody is super successful. There are very handful of people जिसने पहला business शुरू किया, startup शुरू किया, and they have made millions of dollars. Most of the people, look at the sharks, they all talk about their failures, right? Everybody has got a failure behind them. So don't worry about it too much. Let it come and go. Don't try to avoid it. Cool.
1 second. After this, can you pass the mic to the person behind? He's been
the last
asking.
row. Backbenchers are always difficult to reach out to. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Before stepping into this particular Skippy, if you got an offer letter from top tech giants like Google or Microsoft, what would be your choice? Will you, with offer letter of 50 to 60 LPA, what would be your choice? Will you opt for that particular job or continue for this particular startup?
You were saying after I finished Skippy or
no,
before?
Before.
Like I said, I have never been a person who would want to enjoy jobs, and unfortunately, my industry, I'm not from a tech background. Google offices, I know, boss, they've got Cadbury's and lunch and dinner, everything over there. My industry from where I come, unfortunately, we're not pampered that way. So there are not any F&B players in the industry who would pamper us that way. So I would probably, me as a person, I cannot do a job over here. The reason I chose to do a job abroad in Australia is they have a very good work-life balance. So it made me very comfortable in terms of working in Australia and learning from those brands and those companies, which probably I couldn't do back then in India. I know that things in India have changed drastically now. So maybe now if somebody had offered me some great position, I might really think about it seriously, maybe after Skippy. But prior to Skippy, no, I was very clear that I wanted to get my entrepreneurship started. And even after coming back from Australia, I never thought that I will go and work for Google or Microsoft or somebody else. I was very clear that I will start my own stuff, and this is what I did.
So for example, taking myself as example, if I have an idea about a startup and I got an offer letter from tech giants, what would be your opinion?
You cannot do two things. This is what happens, most of the guys will be like, na dagar manchi offer letter kuda undi, startup kuda cheyali, what should I do? If you're not sure, see, there is no age to do a startup. We know the story of KFC, right? He started at 60s.
Yes.
There is no age for a startup. You are not sure about it, don't pressure yourself to become a startup today. Go and do a job. Learn something. 4 or 5 years down the line, once you become confident, please do a startup. I'm 42 today. I've started at 40, Skippy, right? I'm not old enough. I'm not going to die tomorrow. I mean, assuming so. But you can start anytime. So don't be under that pressure. Do a job if you're not sure, and then come back into startup ecosystem once you feel confident.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. There are a few hands in the back as well, last rows. Yes.
Sir, my name is Shiva. What is your net worth of your company, sir?
I'll have to look up at my balance sheet. I'll give you my auditor's number. Please reach out. Smart move by there, huh?
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. सर जैसे आपके स्किपी ब्रांड आरसीबी को स्पॉन्सर करे ना
Really?
ये मतलब लोगो देखा था सर
मुझे पता नहीं था
नहीं जर्सी पे देखा था
नहीं it was not us. We have not reached there yet.
आईपीएल कौन सा भी टीम को स्पॉन्सर नहीं करे
नहीं किए सर थोड़ा फंड कर दो कर देंगे Not yet. I think you've got it wrong. We have not sponsored.
फंड कर दे
All right, sure. Yeah, maybe another 2 questions and
2 more questions and we'll end it.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
There might be a particular point where you have got the idea of this startup, right? Could you share the experience with us?
like I said, as an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get into a startup, you will keep asking people for ideas. You'll discuss ideas with your booze mates, your classmates, or whoever. And over a few discussions, you will realize that the idea is good. You know, it has good opportunity for you. That is how, like I was saying, we will keep looking for ideas, and suddenly the idea will come up to you from nowhere. Like I said, the idea is still probably even there, but you have not thought about it. Once that you come to that stage where you suddenly identify an idea and you introspect whether the idea is really worth it or not, that is where you will realize that, okay, this is something that you would want to do, or you want to pass it. In our case also, who would have actually imagined that, you know, एक ice Pepsi की brand यहाँ पर बैठ के आपसे बात कर रहे होंगे, right? मैंने तो कभी नहीं सोचा था. So we always try to look for very complex problems. Not necessarily, yaar. Make it simple. Skippy is the most simplest product on the platform today, across Shark Tank or any other way. इससे और simple क्या हो सकता था? So I think ideas will come to you. Eventually, you'll have to keep digging, asking people, talking to people, and being wise that idea can come from any kid, any person across your ecosystem.
Sir, if this wasn't successful, what is your next step?
So if this is not successful, fine. This will add to another failure of mine in my stories next time. I will look into something else. I will start another startup maybe. I will become a mentor for a few otherwise, or I might go back to Australia. Who knows? अभी उतना सोचा नहीं हूँ. I think so negatively right now.
Well, that will be another chapter of your biography.
Absolutely.
It's never.
Thanks, guys. Yes.
Good afternoon, I'm Shrija. So I personally think that exploring plays a major role for finding the right idea to build your business. And we as students are overwhelmed with academics that are right there with us. But how do we maximize the process of exploration as much as possible so that we manage time for both of them?
Honestly, the answer is that maybe you will not be able to balance both of them well.
Of course, even if it's 60-40, but still, what is the process?
Can you elaborate a bit?
Try to explore things.
So I think when you are in academics also, there are a lot of times that your lecturers could be talking about XYZ theories and subjects and topics where you could suddenly find an idea. There is no time or period or place where you can actually get the idea that you would want to do for the next 4-5 years. It just happens. Or the other way of analyzing it is, if you are a chemical engineer and if you want to get down into the idea of how can I create a textile which is not going to be torn apart for next 50 years, or how can I create a sustainable textile, you can actually even get down into that kind of a matrix and understand whether is there a problem in my industry that I can solve. And you can actually reach out to a lot of people, like I said, mentors also, to understand whether there is a problem or not. But balancing of yourself in terms of your academics versus your startup idea is a very difficult hustle that you'll have to do. You'll have to stay awake in the late night, burn some oil. You'll have to get up early in the morning, skip your yoga classes or whatever if you guys are doing, and then get into this kind of a thought process. It's a tough journey. It's something like you're asking me that, Ravi, how am I balancing my work and life balance? I have no balance there. It's only work. Simple. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question.
Good afternoon, Ravi. I am one of the CAP partners for this event. My question is, when are you available so that I can pitch for the investment?
That's an amazing question. Maybe I'll see you down the stage.
Thank you.
We'll talk about it.
All right, guys. So with this, we are ending this fireside chat. So thank you, everybody, for staying here and listening to this conversation. And thank you from my behalf to the team of EAD for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, panel, for this engaging session. We would like to express our gratitude for wonderful insights shared with our esteemed speaker, Mr. Ravi Kabra and Mr. Ganesh.
So just stay back for the felicitation.
We kindly request Padmini ma'am, you present a token of appreciation to our speakers as a gesture of heartfelt thanks from their valuable contributions to this event.
So we'll have a group photo.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Sir, can we have a group photo?
Oh, okay.
So you can. Yeah, no, you can stand. Mom, come.
So one more from our side.
This is from, yeah, Arjun, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before we transition to our next session, we have the pleasure of inviting the founder of Triarite Solutions to share their insights with our audience. Kindly request Mr. Kishore to join us on the stage. Guys, please stay back. There's a last session lined up. It's a workshop. And after that, the session is going to end. I mean, the event is going to come to an end. Yes. You can use this for the presentation. This is the next slide. Okay? Like your PPT will be played. Mayur,
Good afternoon, people. You guys can relax for 5 minutes. I'll not take much of your time. It's only 5 minutes. And this is important as well. So I have heard some of you guys asking a question, how do we balance the time with your academics and also with the exploring new things and all, right? I could say this can be helpful for you on the same. So we are TriRight Solutions. This is an edtech platform. So we started this year. It's been just 8 months maybe. Yep. I've started it in the month of February. And this is my 7th startup. Yes. So I started my first startup in the year 2013 when I was in the 3rd year of BTech. I'm a computer science graduate. And that is into home tuitions. You all know about home tuitions? Probably everyone might have taken one home tuition in your lifetime. Okay, maybe you are brilliant. The below average students would know about this. So this, I used to supply home tuitions. So this has come into my line because I was a home tutor. Yeah. So I worked as a home tutor with one academy. I am not giving the name of the academy. It's an academy, one of the academies. I worked there. And they've charged me 500 rupees. And they didn't provide me any home tuitions for 6 months because that's the registration time I had. And yeah, they haven't given me not even one single home tuitions. And I paid the registration fees of 500 rupees, which is like waste. And then another academy, another 500 rupees, and even that's a fail. And then I thought of thinking of people like me who've paid 500 rupees all the time, who've got nothing as a service from the academies. Then I started registering my own academy, Nandan Academy. Nandan is my friend's name. He's not here now. He met with an accident, so he's no more. So I started it with my friend's name, Nandan Academy, with 0 registration fees and giving them the service right then and lifetime. And there my business starts. So everyone knew about Just Dial? Right. So Just Dial was like emerging those days. They've given me free promotions. In just 6 months, I've got 27 tutors like me who were like wanting to take tuitions for their pocket money, the co-students with me. And I was having plenty of tutors. Like within 6 months, I've got 27 tutors, and I have spread across twin cities in Hyderabad. And that was going well. And then the dragon comes in, the final semester, the projects and all the semester exams, and I have to come back into the academics again because I'm a below average student. Yeah, 60% was my target. If I get 60%, I'm done. Yeah, and this TriRight Solutions, I told it's a 7th startup. The first one started in 2013. That's into education. The second one started in 2000 okay, I don't have this handy. Yeah, the second one started in 2016 and 17, 19, and 23. In 2016, I had 3 startups, which is into entertainment, which is into education, and which is into e-commerce. So I was a former employee with the 3 organizations. As soon as I done with my graduation, I started with Genpact for 1 year, and 1 year with HCL Technologies as a software engineer. And another 3.5 years, I worked with Amazon as a support engineer. I worked as a risk management engineer for 3 years, and then I jumped out with my full-time entrepreneurship. And this has come to picture filling the gaps between the institute and the industry. So we provide internships, and you could see we are already tied up with 30 colleges across Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So we are have around 5,289 students at the moment, and 7,000 plus students who have registered and about to start by end of this year. So what we give is courses. So we are spread out with all the industries, not for IT. Courses, anagane first mana gurtochedi IT, Java, and full stack courses, right? Yeah. So we are spread up with all the 5 industries: IT, non-IT, management, finance, and pharmaceuticals. And all these courses are not the courses which are like mostly taught in your curriculum, but an addition to that, it's like an advanced course which you can get the knowledge on to be an employable, like whatever the industries expect from a graduate or a candidate. I don't say a graduate again, because once you're done with your graduation, you will be a candidate for the with the profile. So every candidate, what is that required and what is that missing in a candidate is fulfilled at TriRight. So what we do is, we have these courses, like our features. We have online courses, live classes, wherein you can directly interact with the tutors. And we also have offline courses as well, who can come down to office and work with us. So I call it as internships. So these internships are unpaid. We don't pay you anything, but in turn, we give you the knowledge. How? We involve you working with our software development team, who works for a real-time projects which are yet to launch. Clear? And we have these, as I said, 45 variety of courses, and all are affordable pricings. Have you, any one of you here have been to any coaching center asking for a full stack development course? How much does that cost? Any idea? Or your brothers or your friends, someone who've been to academies or institutions asking for this course? A full stack development consists of front end, back end, and server connections. All together is a full stack. And that is costing somewhere around 25 to 40,000. All might have known about Amirpet. Yes. That's another call. Actually, that's a place where all academies rely. And we call it another university. Yeah. Because once we are done with this graduation from any university, we'll go to Amirpet for the courses. Yeah. There, the pricing is somewhere around 25,000 to 40,000 plus job assistance or job placements, for which you'll have to pay another 65,000 plus job support, because they'll not teach you properly. You will definitely need a job support, and plus for which you'll have to pay another 20,000 a month for other 6 months for the job support, because they place you back door, not the front doors. Yes. And guess what? We have the same course or same list of courses I would give you for 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees, which will have the front end, back end, and the server connections. This is for the IT candidates. For non-IT, we have electronics and electricals people here. For them, we have embedded systems, VLSI designs, and MATLAB. And for civil and mechanical students, we have AutoCAD, StatPro, 3ds Max, I'm sorry. And for pharmaceutical students, this course is not there in your curriculum completely, which is medical coding and medical transcriptions. We train students on these courses, irrespective of your stream. You can pick up any course that you're interested in, because no one is working on their own stream today. We are like diversified, and even the organizations are looking for someone who are like multi-skilled. And we are available at the same Amirpet again. Yep, Amirpet near Sureka Chambers. You can contact us with all these sources. So I'm available on the same number. Yep, and we are there in Instagram as well on the same name, Try Right. And I would actually close the session with a thanks note for your patience. Thank you.
Let's start with the workshop without further ado. Please join me in welcome the dynamic founder of Sits Farm, Mr. Kishore Indukuri, a visionary in the world of entrepreneurship. His journey from a small dairy farm to leading D2C plays in the premium milk space is nothing short of inspirational. Today he is here to share his insight on the entrepreneurship and innovation. Let's give a warm welcome to Kishore Indukuri.
Can you all hear me? I think everybody is all spread out. You can come to the front. How many of you understand Telugu? Okay, good. Most of you understand Telugu. And so Telugu, English, Telugu, Hindi is okay, right? So how many of you have heard of Sits Farm? Any hands? One. Okay. So ours probably is a little easier to understand, because we sell milk, right? As simple as that. And so I'll talk a little bit about, what I've done before. I know in the last session Ravi was talking about his journey essentially. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. So I come from a middle class background, right? Family was never into business. My father was an engineer. I started out as an engineer as well. Not even remotely connected to business. I'm telling this so if some of you are feeling overwhelmed to do a startup, you can start anywhere, anytime. I got into IIT in my second attempt, right? I did not get it in my first attempt. Worked hard, got it in my second attempt. Studied at IIT Kharagpur. For which I think this year I got the Young Alumnus Award. So I think I got lucky to get that award. Went to Kharagpur. Didn't really study hard there. I think once I graduated, I realized maybe thoda pad lena chahiye, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to skip all the nonsense, go to the US, study hard. That's what I did. I got a master's as well as a PhD in polymer science and engineering. After that, worked for Intel for about 6 years. So I was in manufacturing. No, I'm not from an IT background. Worked there for 6 years. But all along in my 6 years, right, I felt something was missing, right? Somehow there's a strong personality mismatch, right, into doing a regular job, right? So I think 3 years into my work, I went to one island, a remote island in Seattle, did a wind turbine workshop. So this workshop, was all about, building a wind turbine from scratch, right? So spent a week there, learned a little bit. Then another week I took a break again, and this time I did a solar energy installation on a home in Arizona. See, what was I doing? I was trying to explore what I liked, right? Somehow I was not getting that kick that I wanted, right? Then, first 3 years I was doing, one kind of work at Intel. Last 3 years, I moved into a different role. That job was exciting, right? The job, I think, really helped understand a little bit more about myself, right? So, this job was like this. Intel was building a $250 million facility, and there was a small 25 people team that was, part of this project. So wake up at 7 in the morning, right? Be there by 7:30, and things would go on till late evening, late night, right? But that was the most exciting part of work for me, right? And I think 3 years into that, I got to travel a little bit. I realized that, maybe this is the time to try something on my own. I had a little bit of savings. As I said, again, I'll reemphasize, no business background. So I made a lot of mistakes. So I came back, we came back to India. By that time, we had a son, we had a house in the US. So decided, TK, we will move back. We sold off our house and, started, picked 2 areas, one education, and the second one was agriculture, as something that I wanted to try. Both of the things, agriculture, something was always close to my heart. And started with growing vegetables, right? And I think, I don't know if Srinivas Reddy Garu is here. At least 5-6 years ago when I connected with him, he was the HOD of mechanical engineering here. He's still here. So another thing that I did was, am I too loud? Am I holding it too close? That's okay. Another thing that I tried to do was education. Education was something that was very close to my heart. So started by doing practical engineering college, practical education in engineering colleges. That was another thing that I wanted to try. And name of my company, is Sid's Farm. And our elder son's name is Siddharth, right? So one of the things that we looked at, right, we were looking for good food for our son. At that time he had, a lot of allergies. So we were always looking for good food for him. And we thought, we've looked for, milk again. Where can we get to good milk, right? In the US, you had a lot of options available. In India, we felt like there were not as many options available, right? So we started with that problem statement, right? So, as you're starting your own enterprises, or if you're thinking of starting your own enterprises, the first thing that is the most important thing is a problem statement. A very, very clear problem statement is needed. We researched a little bit, right? Food Safety and Standards Authority of India was doing several surveys. In one of the surveys, some of the data that they compiled, so some of the testing, the data showed that milk is not there at where it needs to be, right, in summary. Right, you occasionally hear about adulteration in milk and food, always reported somewhere or the other. So we said, let's be part of this problem, right? Let us take this problem and offer a solution, right? then that is a clear problem. So we named it Sid's Farm. Siddharth is the name of our elder son. We named it Sid's Farm because it was a promise from a parent to a son saying we'll produce the best possible milk, and that is what we deliver to everybody around us. That is a clear value statement. This is the value. See, today we started with few people, right? Initially it was just me, then probably about 10 people we started the farm. Today we are close to 450 people, right? Right? But each and every one of our people, this is the value, right? Good milk is what we do. If we cannot do that, we'll go out of business. We'll not do this business, but only good milk is what we do. It is a clear thing that is percolated across the entire organization, right? So as I said, I talked about the problem statement. Initially, when you start, right, when you pick a problem and try to solve it, you'll have one solution that you picked out from various sources, right? So our first solution was, okay, we'll start a dairy farm. Okay. And we started the dairy farm not too far from here, right? About actually a few kilometers from here is where we started our first farm. 20 cows, no background, right? I didn't have any background. I didn't know how to select a cow, right? I was once, talking to a doctor, I was asking him, how do I pick a cow, right? He said, annam chusi konandi annar. Annam etla chusta nakaithe teliyadu at least. But yeah, I took a book, read through it. He said 6 or 7 points. Ee chudandi, ee chuste avanu select chesam. And we picked our cows, started our farm here, and start chesam farm. We started our farm, started producing milk. Our cost of production was anywhere from 25 to 30 rupees a liter. Producing 1 liter of milk those days, about 7 to 8 years before, right? 13 to 15, 26 to 30 rupees was the cost of production. When we went to sell it in the market, all we were getting paid was 13 to 15 rupees a liter. Not even half of what it was costing to produce. Then we realized that, the only way to survive is to sell it direct. Now DTC is a very popular word, right? But back then we did it because we had to survive, right? So let's take it direct to customer and sell it. So every Saturday, Sunday, we got a nice flyer printed. We say we do pure milk. We started distributing some of these flyers. Every Saturday, Sunday, I would sit in an apartment complex, explain about our milk, have people try a little bit of our milk, and started to sell it. And to my surprise, people started accepting it. So we started with 20 liters of milk, went to 100 liters, then 300. So that is how, the customer acceptance was there, right? So we felt like the demand. See, I think Ravi was talking about proof of concept, right? Proof of concept happened to us, right? And at this stage, as I told you, I was trying to do 2 things, right? One, I was trying to do something in education, and the second, I was trying to do something in, in agriculture, dairy. So I would take classes. As I was taking classes, I would get a call from a customer saying that Eros pal raledu, re palastera. I would get phone calls. See, I answered all the calls. For the first 4 years of the business, I took every call that the business got, right? So pal gavali, pal oddu. Every call from 6 to 10 in the morning, we would get phone calls. 6 to 10 at night, we would get phone calls. So then decided you can only do one business properly. Right? So stopped whatever, even though I loved education, I felt like, you can only do one thing right. I stopped stimulus that I was doing and just started doing a lot more of Sid's Farm. See, as I said, the solution was that we were offering was a dairy farm, produce good milk, and deliver it to our customers, right? And we started to scale. One time, we were doing this. We had a professor from Germany who came and visited our farm. He was one of our customers. He visited us. He told us, Kishore, he then became a professor at IIM Ahmedabad. So he asked me to come give a talk on value chain management, right? And how we look at it at Sid's Farm. How many of you know the word value chain? So then we started writing what is it. See, what were we doing? we were producing milk. We were producing our own milk. Then, I'll tell one more story. I skipped a story. Then we were packing it. We were just hand packing the milk. We were processing and packaging it. Then we were also doing home delivery. When you do home delivery, you also have to attend calls, right? Because if the packet does not get delivered, if a cat has drank from your packet, all of that you still have to address, right? So we were doing all these three things, right? Take a look at any other dairy. They actually only do one or two of them. We were doing all these three things separately. I'll tell a little bit about a story, so it is a little bit more interesting. It is a little bit more exciting, for you guys. So I remember dairy farm. A lot of people told me, don't get into dairy farm. It is one of the toughest fields to do. I didn't listen. I got into it anyways. I thought, kar lenge. I know how to fight. I'll fight. But only when I got into it, I realized, what a fight it was, right? 4 to 5 in the morning, we used to wake up, okay? 5 to 5:30, hand packet milk. 5:30 to 6:30, home deliver it. No chance for error. And in the initial days, we used to sell raw milk. Morning milk, we used to sell in the morning. Evening milk, we used to sell in the evening. So 365 days into 730 days, we used to deliver milk. Lot of accidents, whatnot, right? Lot of nonsense also happens, right? These are all learning things. So as our milk started to grow, 4 became 330, 330 became 3 became 230. At one point, we were waking up at 1:15 in the morning just to make sure customer gets their milk at 6:30. Doesn't matter how great milk you produce, if the milk doesn't reach a customer by 6:30 in the morning, it is no good, right? Because the end thing, you have to deliver to a customer by 6:30. So, right? All along, right, we were maintaining our values really, really strongly. So whenever we needed help, right, we went back to our customers, right? And one of the first things we did, we were selling raw milk. We realized that if you continue to wake up at 1:15 in the morning every day and do it for year on year, both our animals as well as our people will die, right? At that point, we realized, let's start chilling milk. Let's understand a little bit about processing. That is when we invested in a small chilling facility, right, for our milk. I never banked with a banker, so understood a little bit. I was in Narkuda, there is a syndicate bank right here. One day I met the bank manager. I was casually chatting with him. He told me, Kishore, I can offer you a bank loan. Right? And that is when, that took almost a year for us. And we bought our own piece of land in Shabad, about 30 kilometers from here, and started putting up a processing facility. So I'll come back to value chain, production of raw milk, then process and package it, then, home deliver it, right? All these three things. So, as we started to understand our value chain, right, we felt like, are we really good at production of raw milk? And when we started to write this question, right, we felt like, the farmers all around us were actually producing milk a lot more efficiently than we are able to, right? But trust is a problem. How do I know that milk is good? Mem chestunnanta varaku, we know it is good milk, right? We will make sure that not a single drop of milk, single drop of water gets into our milk, right? Water is also, concern for people, right? So, wherever our produces, how do you know that is great milk? So that is when we started to understand that testing is important. See, we always used to get this question from customers. Kishore, nuvaithe farm lo eppudu undavu kada 24 hours. No, how can you guarantee me that evaro neelu galapaledani etla? I'll give a small joke, right? One day we got invited to Chirek. We were talking to students there. I asked them this question, right? See, initially we had a lot of hurdles, right? For example, sometimes one day cow gave less milk, but we had a commitment to our customers, right? We had to sell so many liters of milk. What would you do? I asked the students. One of the kids, raised his hand. We never ever did that, right? It never occurred to us also to ever add a drop of water, right? We actually came back to the farm, milked our cow a third time, probably bichare usko taklif diya. But we milked a cover third time, got that 1 or 2 liters of milk, and I went back in my car and home delivered again to our customer. But we never ever, did that, right? I've never ever had a drop. So we realized that testing was very, very important. And me, I have, a lot of people asked me, right, you're too padalika, you're doing all this, right? What value are you adding? This is a question I always had. A lot of people, including my parents, you did all this, you studied that, what are you doing? See, education is about, can you problem solve? Can you take any problem and solve it, right? And that is where I think as a company, we figured out solutions to the problems that we needed to solve. And today at SIDS Farm, we do 6,000 tests every day on our milk. Right? A lot of people say 6,000 tests. Is it even possible? But that is what we do, right? Every 40-liter can of milk that goes through our facility gets tested. We test for urea, sugar, salt, any starch that can get into milk, preservatives like hydrogen peroxide, caustic soda, baking soda, formalin. We look for 5 different classes of antibiotics, steroids, hormones, anything that can get into milk externally, we test for it. Anything that could get into the future, we are already researching it. Why? Because we are paranoid about milk quality, and that is the solution that we said we'll offer to our customers. Our milk packets say no antibiotics, no hormones, and no preservatives, and we deliver that every day. How do I get the confidence to stand here and say that my milk is good? Because we test it. We put that depth into the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And that is the solution statement that we've offered, right? We have a model dairy farm about 25 kilometers from here. You can come visit that farm anytime. See, how do customers trust us? Our milk is 30% more expensive than regular milk. Still, customers are paying for our milk. Why? About 40,000 customers today buy our milk in the city of Hyderabad. Why do they buy it? Because it is not about money. Please remember, a lot of people say, okay, your milk is 120 rupees. Why? Right? The value, it is not about money. It is not about that MRP or 120 rupees. It is about whether are you giving that value to them or not. If you are convinced that you are giving your customer that value, people will pay for it. And the value that we are giving is you don't have to worry about the milk that you drink. Right? For 1,000 rupees more, that is what, if you calculate, if you do the math, right? If you're paying 30 rupees more for our milk, right, into 30 days, it is about 1,000 rupees more. For 1,000 rupees more, which is cost of a meal outside, if you go to a restaurant, it will probably cost you 2,000 rupees. For 1,000 rupees more, your kid can have one product which you don't have to worry about. And that is a clear value prop that we give to our customer. Please remember value, right? When you build your own enterprise, are you giving that value to your end consumer or not? Right? And in our solution statement, the solution statement that we offer to our customers, a model dairy farm where we research, right? We work with close to 1,500 farmers that produce our milk for us, but every 40-liter can of milk gets tested. Right? And every Saturday, since the inception, right, we've been doing this a lot more aggressively. Now, every Saturday, farmers can walk into our farm from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. They can see exactly how to milk a cow, right? Walk into the lab, see exactly all the tests that we do, then walk into our processing facility, get an idea of what happens in a milk processing facility, go through our grass growing operations just to get a feel. Kids go on a tractor ride. We give them the entire thing end to end to build this trust with our end consumer. That's one thing they do. I'm trying to see if I've forgotten any things. I've been speaking for some time. I'd love to take any questions and then resume my talk. ఈజీ టాపిక్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నా కదా, ఏం క్వశ్చన్స్ లేవా? అందరు పాలు తాగుతారు కదా. ఆర్ యూ గెటింగ్ వాల్యూ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ద మిల్క్ దట్ యూర్ డ్రింకింగ్? హలో సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, వి రియలీ అప్రిషియేట్ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. మీకు ఎప్పుడు టైం ఉన్నా కానీ ప్లీజ్ కమ్ డౌన్ సార్, ప్లీజ్ కమ్ అండ్ విజిట్ ద ఫార్మ్. ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ టూ ఫార్ ఫ్రమ్ హియర్ సార్. See, one thing, we encountered a lot of issues, but we never gave up. Please, yeah.
Sir, you had told you are from IIT Kharagpur. How can you switch it from, actually it is milk, it is from pharmacy type. How can you switch?
Why not? See, See, this is what I'm posing. One of you have asked a question to Ravi about, sir, how do we get experience? See, today, this is the promise of India today. You take any problem, do it better than the others, right? There's a market for it. You can take any area. It doesn't matter. You can do it better. Today, we are as much a technology company as, I just talked about milk, so it's simple. But we have a team of 10 people who are working on tech. We have a much stronger data science team than most of the other data players in the dairy industry. Right? I'll tell you, because you're all engineers, I'll talk a little bit about tech. I think that is something I forgot. Radha Saptami Rosu. How many of you know the festival Radha Saptami? Radha Saptami Rosu, enta palu extra amudotaye, we already know. Because we look at data very, very closely. Dashara came out to we know. We can predict. Right? Next summer holidays, customers ఊర్లు వెళ్తారు. Palu behavior etla undo, we can predict through data. Right? See, one beauty about a D2C brand is, the feedback is instantaneous. Customer ki paal baaledante rep morning you'll know. Right? So you can learn much faster. Tidtaru, but it is okay if you have the ability to listen. Your feedback is instantaneous. Data is there. Lot of data is there. Right? So I'll talk about our tech journey. Okay. See, initially when we started, I used to take all the phone calls, pen and paper, apartment number 1, 14th floor, 105 apartment lo, oka rendu cow milk eyali, oka buffalo milk eyali. Okay? Itla manage chesavallam. 100 customers daka, it was okay. Once it started going beyond 100, paper was no longer feasible. Then we said Excel. Excel, we wrote some macros. We started managing it over Excel. But as we hit 1,000 liters, Excel also started breaking down. It was just not manageable. Then, we looked around. We talked to one SaaS company and said, we interviewed a couple of SaaS companies and we onboarded a SaaS company to manage our customer orders. Okay. Then we realized that, okay, unless we own tech, right, it is very, very difficult to really get a grasp on data. And we were missing a lot of important pieces of information, right? That is when we started building our own tech. Right now we have our own Android and iOS app, all developed by our team, right? And see, milk delivery is not a simple thing, right? Say, I don't know whether some of you realize what is the difference between Swiggy delivery. All of you heard of Swiggy, and what is the difference between Swiggy delivery and a milk delivery? Can any of you answer? You can probably take a stab. Swiggy delivery ki, Pala delivery ki difference enti? Sir, sorry. Timely delivery, correct. But there is fundamentally one tech difference, sir. Swiggy delivery ankondi, you put your address, it captures your lat long, and the person delivers during regular time. So ante, if he does not get your address properly, he can call you and ask you, sir, my address okasari naku ardham gaatledu, adi enakala chupistundi, na correct address cheptara ani. You can ask them and find out and go deliver. Pala delivery ki 4 o'clock in the morning, you can't call a customer and say, my address dorkatledu naku right address cheppandi and call cheyalem. So that is one challenge with milk delivery. So aim cheyali, and milk delivery happens regularly every day. So you can't call the customer every day and say, sir, my address dorkatledu naku malle cheppandi, and roju call chesavudu customer tidtaru. Roju paal delivery chestunnava kada, you are expected to know. Okay? Today we have a team of 450 delivery boys that deliver our milk seamlessly without calling a customer ever. One lat long, automatic route assignment. New customer comes. How do you solve it? Right? When a new customer comes, a route, right? You have a route with lat longs where you draw a circle. So this is the route of this delivery boy. Now a new customer comes in, you take this lat long and drop it. The tech automatically drops saying that, okay, this customer should belong to this route. It automatically adds it to that route. The delivery boy is informed, hey, tomorrow you have a new customer. Without calling the customer, you have to go deliver 4 o'clock in the morning. This is not a complex, this is not a simple assignment. So we have something called a T+1 and a T+2. If this customer belongs to a route that we have already been doing, it gets added to a T+2. He gets delivered the same day, next day in the morning. If it is a new area, then he gets delivered a second day. If you promise a customer you are going to deliver him milk and you don't deliver it, he is not going to be happy. Because పిల్లలకి వెళ్తుంది, పిల్లలు might drink. So there are complex tech problems that you have to solve specifically for milk. Yeah? So there's a lot of tech that we deploy. And yeah, so we have, as I said, we have a team of 10 plus people that are looking at data continuously. There are a lot of queries that we run, to understand the behavior. Entamandi customers vastunaru, entamandi vellipotunnaru. Customer, new onboarding, new customers that are coming in, entamandi vastunaru. How many customers are leaving you? What is the retention? See, it's easy to, vachina customer ni kaapadukodam is more easier than kotta customer ni తీసుకురావడం. So retention is very, very important. Right? These are some things that are important metrics in any D2C business. So any problem, right? See, one, something that we have to see, we encountered a lot of problems in our journey, but every problem eventually we've been able to convert into an opportunity. Any other questions? It was a great question, so I was able to speak on it. Any other question? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Aniket. So my question is, what is the material used in the packing of the milk?
What is the material used in the
packing? Sir. Is it kind of some eco-friendly or plastic is being used in the packing?
It's one of my favorite questions. I answer this question every Saturday when I talk to my customers.
Because that's really related to the health, sir. So.
Okay. See, I mean, I'll be blunt, okay?
That's okay, sir. That's okay. That's fine.
See, a lot of people talk about, there are two answers for it. Let's take environmental aspect of it first. So we'll talk about, it takes 650 grams of glass to transport 500 ml of milk. It takes 3 grams of plastic to transport 500 ml of milk, which is environmentally friendly. Because your diesel or petrol is nothing but your plastic. You are actually using a lot more crude oil to transport in glass compared to your plastic. So that takes away the ecological part of it or environmental part of it. Let's come to the health part of it. How many of you know what is the difference between a glass and a rubber? In physics, there is a concept called glass transition temperature. Take a rubber ball, right? You bounce it, it bounces. Put it in liquid nitrogen and drop it from the top, it shatters like a glass. Same material, right? If you change the temperature or time, you change it from glass to rubber. So why am I telling you this? Liquid milk, so, okay. Glass is something in which there is no molecular motion, right? If you put your milk in glass, the molecules of glass are not interacting with your milk. That is why people consider it safe. When you put it in a plastic pouch, one of the things that could happen is the polymer chains in your plastic can start interacting with your food. That is a concern, right? So but liquid milk is almost always cold filled. When you cold fill milk at 2 degrees, the molecular mobility of your plastic in which you're filling is close to 0. Right? So even, I won't say it's 0, but it is close to 0. So any small single monomer chain wiggling out of your plastic and interacting with food is very low when you fill milk at 2 degrees. From a health point of view, today we feel that it is an okay risk to take. See, that is why milk industry en masse has moved from glass to, plastic. I'm not saying it is an ideal solution. Filling it in a plastic is not an ideal solution, but there's a lot of depth to it, right? And I think we should understand that and provide the right solution. Let's not hurry and give a solution that is not great, right? Glass is today not the greatest solution, I would say, right? We should definitely find a solution that is much better, right? We should all strive for it. But, let's not say that because we felt, glass seems good, it is not the right solution. Because both environmentally, it is not great because you're consuming a lot more of it. Yeah.
Sir, actually, I haven't tried your product, but I can feel the confidence in your words.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please do try it, if you can, if you get
Definitely,
a chance.
Sir, definitely.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please.
Sir, the product which you are taking up is not a long run, right? It's a day past when it goes its essence, right? Anytime you have encountered that kind of a loss that because of the milk which has not been sold, amount of loss, or otherwise by any other means, we know the milk is very sensitive. With any other foreign particle, it might just break it out. Anytime that kind of a thing that encountered, and how you have come out of it?
It happens, quite regularly, ma'am, and that is what understanding, the industry is, right? So I have not specifically, talked about, how much time do I have? I have a few minutes. Okay, maybe I'll take a few minutes to, talk about milk itself, ma'am. How, see, I told you about an example of when we started producing milk, we were getting paid only 13 rupees per liter, right? Our cost of production was 25, 26 rupees. We were getting paid only 13. This is a problem not just we face, but, generally the farmer is also facing, right? And so, this is why milk thickeners get into milk. When I say thickeners, see, the only milk testing machine that is used around the world is an ultrasound machine, right? So ultrasound machine, you put, I think some of you have seen, you put it in the milk, it tells you how much fat, how much solids are there. But it does not know the solids are really milk solids or something else. That is how thickeners get into milk, right? That is how people said, okay, let me add, let me add sugar, let me add salt. That is how starches come in. Second thing, so first, the way we solve it is pay fair price, then test. The next most important thing that we do is chill. One of the most important things in milk is chilling. See, milk is food for us, milk is also food for bacteria. You leave milk outside, bacteria start to attack milk, convert the lactose in milk to lactic acid. Andukane paalu pullaga pagilipothuntam, right? Because bacteria are converting lactose into lactic. Indians are smart, right? People have figured, okay, lactic acid ayipothundu, paalu pullaga avutunnayi, let me add a base to it. And where are the bases? If you take a Ariel, for example, or surf, any detergent, it has caustic soda or baking soda in it. So caustic soda and baking soda are the common adulterants, preservatives that get into milk. Again, we test for it, right? But milk fundamentalga chaala mandi adugutaru, mee packet meeda 2 to 3 days shelf life istaru, anne brands 1 day istadi, meer emana preservative galputunnara. I say, it is a shame that we are giving 2 to 3 days shelf life. Paalani time ki chill cheste 7 days kuda paalu pagilipovandi. Time ki chill cheste paalani pindina ventane 1 to 2 hours lo meer pindagalite 7 days shelf life ivvachu without adding anything. That is, see, milk, nature designed milk, right? So it's a magic, right? Nature has put in enough strength into it. But manam, because we are not able to chill it on time, we are losing that life. So there are parameters with which we measure it, right? And how to get it to that 7 days, right? We are not there at 7 days. We give it 2 to 3 days shelf life. But, eventually the milk has that strength in it. And we have to get there. That is how quality is, get into it. We monitor a bunch of parameters to get there. Sorry, that was a long answer. Yeah, I think we are good. If there are any questions, I can take them outside. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Sir, how difficult it has been to you? Like, as you mentioned, it was 120 rupees a packet, no sir, liter of milk. Like, what target audience, like what community of people will come under that category? And coming from middle class family, if we look at on a larger scale, as you mentioned, it might cost extra meal if we go outside, like 1,000 rupees and all. But at a time, if we talk about 120 rupees, it's a big amount for a middle class person. Like, there are many.
Is it? I mean, we are able to convince, right? See, ma paal konukunte, you don't have to buy ghee from outside. You don't have to buy ghee from outside. There is enough venna vastadi. Paalalo etuvanti antibiotic ledu, etuvanti injections levu, etuvanti thickeners levu, etuvanti preservatives levu. Is your health more valuable than that? So and that is what we do, right? If you look at our Insta page, we say we are India's most tested milk. right? And our target audience is people with kids, right? Young parents is what our customer audience, but people from all walks of life take our milk.
So just stay back for felicitation.
Thank you, sir, for taking out your precious time for us and enlightening all of us with your valuable experience. We would like to invite Padmin ma'am onto the stage to present token appreciation for Mr. Kishore Indukuri.
Also from your side. I think our team. Yeah, will. Thank you, sir. I think I'll send it. Sure.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Please join me in welcome the dynamic founder of Sitswarm, Mr. Kishore Indukuri, a visionary in the world of entrepreneurship. His journey from a small dairy farm to leading D2C plays in the premium milk space is nothing short of inspirational. Today he is here share his insight on the entrepreneurship and innovation. Let's give a warm welcome to Kishore Indukuri.
So how many of you have heard of Sitswarm? Any hands? One. Okay. So ours probably is a little easier to understand, because we sell milk, right? As simple as that. And so I'll talk a little bit about what I've done before. I know in the last session Ravi was talking about his journey essentially. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. So I come from a middle class background, right? Family was never into business. My father was an engineer. I started out as an engineer as well. Not even remotely connected to business. I'm telling this so if some of you are feeling overwhelmed to do a startup, you can start anywhere, anytime. I got into IIT in my second attempt, right? I did not get it in my first attempt, worked hard, got it in my second attempt, studied at IIT Kharagpur, for which I think this year I got the Young Alumnus Award. So I think I got lucky to get that award. Went to Kharagpur. Didn't really study hard there, I think once I graduated, I realized maybe thoda pad lena chahiye, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to skip all the nonsense, go to the US, study hard. That's what I did. I got a master's as well as a PhD in polymer science and engineering. After that, worked for Intel for about 6 years. So I was in manufacturing. I'm not from an IT background. Worked there for 6 years. But all along in my 6 years, right, I felt something was missing, right? Somehow there's a strong personality mismatch, right, into doing a regular job, right? So I think 3 years into my work, I went to one island, a remote island in Seattle, did a wind turbine workshop. So this workshop, was all about, building a wind turbine from scratch, right? So spent a week there, learned a little bit. Then another week I took a break again, and this time I did a solar energy installation on a home in Arizona. See, what was I doing? I was trying to explore what I liked, right? Somehow I was not getting that kick that I wanted, right? I said, then, first 3 years I was doing, one kind of work at Intel. Last 3 years, I moved into a different role. That job was exciting, right? The job, I think, really helped understand a little bit more about myself, right? So, this job was like this. Intel was building a $250 million facility, and there was a small 25 people team that was, part of this project. So wake up at 7 in the morning, right? Be there by 7:30, and things would go on till late evening, late night, right? But that was the most exciting part of work for me, right? And I think 3 years into that, I got to travel a little bit. I realized that, maybe this is the time to try something on my own. I had a little bit of savings. As I said, again, I'll reemphasize, no business background. So I made a lot of mistakes. So I came back, we came back to India. By that time, we had a son, we had a house in the US. So decided, TK, we'll move back. We sold off our house and, started, picked 2 areas, one education, and the second one was agriculture, as something that I wanted to try. Both of the things, agriculture, something was always close to my heart. And started with growing vegetables, right? And I think, I don't know if Srinivas Reddy Garu is here. At least 5-6 years ago when I connected with him, he was the HOD of mechanical engineering here. He's still here. So another thing that I did was, am I too loud? Am I holding it too close? That's okay. Another thing that I tried to do was education. Education was something that was very close to my heart. So started by doing practical engineering college, practical education in engineering colleges. That was another thing that I wanted to try. And name of my company, is Sid's Farm. And our elder son's name was Siddharth, right? So one of the things that we looked at, right, we were looking for good food for our son. At that time he had, a lot of allergies. So we were always looking for good food for him. And we thought, we've looked for, milk again. Where can we get to good milk, right? In the US, you had a lot of options available. In India, we felt like there were not as many options available, right? So we started with that problem statement, right? So, as you're starting your own enterprises, or if you're thinking of starting your own enterprises, the first thing, that is the most important thing, is a problem statement. We researched a little bit, right? Food Safety and Standards Authority of India was doing several surveys. In one of the surveys, some of the data that they compiled, so some of the testing, the data showed that milk is not there at where it needs to be, right, in summary. Right, you occasionally hear about adulteration in milk and food, always reported somewhere or the other. So we said, let's be part of this problem, right? Let us take this problem and offer a solution, right? And that is a clear problem. So we named it Sid's Farm. Siddharth is the name of our elder son. We named it Sid's Farm because it was a promise from a parent to a son saying we'll produce the best possible milk, and that is what we deliver to everybody around us. That is a clear value statement. This is the value. See, today we started with few people, right? Initially it was just me, then probably about 10 people we started the farm. Today we are close to 450 people, right? Right? But each and every one of our people, this is the value, right? Good milk is what we do. If we cannot do that, we'll go out of business. We'll not do this business, but only good milk is what we do. It is a clear thing that is percolated across the entire organization, right? So as I said, I talked about the problem statement. initially when you start, right, when you pick a problem and try to solve it, you'll have one solution that you picked out from various sources, right? So our first solution was, okay, we'll start a dairy farm. Okay. And we started the dairy farm not too far from here, right? About actually a few kilometers from here is where we started our first farm. 20 cows, no background, right? I didn't have any background. I didn't know how to select a cow, right? I was once, talking to a doctor, I was asking him, how do I pick a cow, right? He said, annam chusi konandi annar. Ava annam etla chusta naakaithe teliyadu at least. But yeah, I took a book, read through it. He said 6 or 7 points. Ee chudandi, ee chuste avanu select chesam. And we picked our cows, started our farm here, and start chesam farm. We started our farm, started producing milk. Our cost of production was anywhere from 25 to 30 rupees a liter. Producing 1 liter of milk those days, about 7 to 8 years before, right? 13 to 15, 26 to 30 rupees was the cost of production. When we went to sell it in the market, all we were getting paid was 13 to 15 rupees a liter. Not even half of what it was costing to produce. Then we realized that, the only way to survive is to sell it direct. Now DTC is a very popular word, right? But back then we did it because we had to survive, right? So let's take it direct to customer and sell it. So every Saturday, Sunday, we got a nice flyer printed. We say we do pure milk. We started distributing some of these flyers. Every Saturday, Sunday, I would sit in an apartment complex, explain about our milk, have people try a little bit of our milk, and started to sell it. And to my surprise, people started accepting it. So we started with 20 liters of milk, went to 100 liters, then 300. So that is how, the customer acceptance was there, right? So we felt like the demand. See, I think Ravi was talking about proof of concept, right? Proof of concept happened to us, right? And at this stage, as I told you, I was trying to do 2 things, right? One, I was trying to do something in education, and the second, I was trying to do something in, in agriculture, dairy. So I would take classes. As I was taking classes, I would get a call from a customer saying that Eros pal raledu, re palastara. I would get phone calls. See, I answered all the calls. For the first 4 years of the business, I took every call that the business got, right? So pal gavali, pal oddu. Every call from 6 to 10 in the morning, we would get phone calls. 6 to 10 at night, we would get phone calls. So then decided you can only do one business properly. Right? So stopped whatever, even though I loved education, I felt like, you can only do one thing right. I stopped stimulus that I was doing and just started doing a lot more of SIDS farm. See, as I said, the solution was that we were offering was a dairy farm, produce good milk, and deliver it to our customers, right? And we started to scale. One time, we were doing this. We had a professor from Germany who came and visited our farm. He was one of our customers. He visited us. He told us, Kishore, he then became a professor at IIM Ahmedabad. So he asked me to come give a talk on value chain management, right? And how we look at it at SIDS Farm. How many of you know the word value chain? So then we started writing what is it. See, what were we doing? We were producing milk. We were producing our own milk. Then, I'll tell one more story. I skipped a story. Then we were packing it. We were just hand packing the milk. We were processing and packaging it. Then we were also doing home delivery. When you do home delivery, you also have to attend calls, right? Because if the packet does not get delivered, if a cat has drank from your packet, all of that you still have to address, right? So we were doing all these 3 things, right? Take a look at any other dairy. They actually only do 1 or 2 of them. We were doing all these 3 things separately. I'll tell a little bit about a story, so it is a little bit more interesting. It is a little bit more exciting, for you guys. So I remember dairy farm. A lot of people told me, dairy, don't get into dairy farm. It is one of the toughest fields to do. I didn't listen. I got into it anyways. I thought, kar lenge. I know how to fight, I'll fight. But only when I got into it, I realized, what a fight it was, right? 4 to 5 in the morning, we used to wake up, okay? 5 to 5:30, hand packet milk. 5:30 to 6:30, home deliver it. No chance for error. And in the initial days, we used to sell raw milk. Morning milk, we used to sell in the morning. Evening milk, we used to sell in the evening. So 365 days into 730 days, we used to deliver milk. Lot of accidents, whatnot, right? Lot of nonsense also happens, right? These are all learning things. So as our milk started to grow, 4 became 3:30, 3:30 became 3, 3 became 2:30. At one point, we were waking up at 1:15 in the morning just to make sure customer gets their milk at 6:30. Doesn't matter how great milk you produce, if the milk doesn't reach a customer by 6:30 in the morning, it is no good, right? Because the end thing, you have to deliver to a customer by 6:30. So, right, all along, right, we were maintaining our values really, really strongly. So whenever we needed help, right, we went back to our customers, right? And one of the first things we did, we were selling raw milk. We realized that if you continue to wake up at 1:15 in the morning every day and do it for year on year, both our animals as well as our people will die, right? At that point, we realized, let's start chilling milk. Let's understand a little bit about processing. That is when we invested in a small chilling facility, right, for our milk. I never banked with a banker, so understood a little bit. I was in Narkuda, there is a syndicate bank right here. One day I met the bank manager. I was casually chatting with him. He told me, Kishore, I can offer you a bank loan. Right? And that is when, that took almost a year for us. And we bought our own piece of land in Shabad, about 30 kilometers from here, and started putting up a processing facility. So I'll come back to value chain, production of raw milk, then process and package it, then, home deliver it, right? All these 3 things. So, as we started to understand our value chain, right, we felt like, are we really good at production of raw milk? And when we started to write this question, right, we felt like, the farmers all around us were actually producing milk a lot more efficiently than we are able to, right? But trust is a problem. How do I know that milk is good? Mem chestunnanta varaku, we know it is good milk, right? We will make sure that not a single drop of milk, single drop of water gets into our milk, right? Water is also, concern for people, right? So, wherever our produces, how do you know that is great milk? So that is when we started to understand that testing is important. See, we always used to get this question from customers. Kishore, nuvaithe farm lo eppudu undavu kada 24 hours. How can you guarantee me that evaro neelu galapaledani etla? I'll give a small joke, right? One day we got invited to Chirek. We were talking to students there. I asked them this question, right? See, initially we had a lot of hurdles, right? For example, sometimes one day cow gave less milk, but we had a commitment to our customers, right? We had to sell so many liters of milk. What would you do? I asked the students. One of the kids, raised his hand. We never ever did that, right? It never occurred to us also to ever add a drop of water, right? We actually came back to the farm, milked our cow a 3rd time. Probably bichare usko taklif diya, but we milked a cow a 3rd time, got that 1 or 2 liters of milk, and I went back in my car and home delivered again to our customer. But we never ever, did that, right? I've never ever added a drop. So we realized that testing was very, very important. And me, I have, a lot of people asked me, right, you're too padalika, you're doing all this, right? What value are you adding? This is a question I always had. A lot of people, including my parents, you did all this, you studied that, what are you doing? See, education is about, can you problem solve? Can you take any problem and solve it, right? And that is where I think as a company, we figured out solutions to the problems that we needed to solve. And today at SIDS Farm, we do 6,000 tests every day on our milk, right? A lot of people say 6,000 tests, is it even possible? But that is what we do, right? Every 40-liter can of milk that goes through our facility gets tested. We test for urea, sugar, salt, any starch that can get into milk, preservatives like hydrogen peroxide, caustic soda, baking soda, formalin. We look for 5 different classes of antibiotics, steroids, hormones, anything that can get into milk externally, we test for it. Anything that could get into the future, we are already researching it. Why? Because we are paranoid about milk quality, and that is the solution that we said we'll offer to our customers. Our milk packets say no antibiotics, no hormones, and no preservatives, and we deliver that every day. How do I get the confidence to stand here and say that my milk is good? Because we test it. We put that depth into the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And that is the solution statement that we've offered, right? We have a model dairy farm about 25 kilometers from here. You can come visit that farm anytime. See, how do customers trust us? Our milk is 30% more expensive than regular milk. Still, customers are paying for our milk. Why? About 40,000 customers today buy our milk in the city of Hyderabad. Why do they buy it? Because it is not about money. Please remember, a lot of people say, okay, your milk is 120 rupees. Why? Right? The value, it is not about money. It is not about that MRP or 120 rupees. It is about whether are you giving that value to them or not. If you are convinced that you are giving your customer that value, people will pay for it. And the value that we are giving is you don't have to worry about the milk that you drink. Right? For 1,000 rupees more, that is what, if you calculate, if you do the math, right? If you're paying 30 rupees more for our milk, right, into 30 days, it is about 1,000 rupees more. For 1,000 rupees more, which is cost of a meal outside, if you go to a restaurant, it will probably cost you 2,000 rupees. For 1,000 rupees more, your kid can have one product which you don't have to worry about. And that is a clear value prop that we give to our customer. Please remember value, right? When you build your own enterprise, are you giving that value to your end consumer or not? Right? And in our solution statement, the solution statement that we offer to our customers, a model dairy farm where we research, right? We work with close to 1,500 farmers that produce our milk for us, but every 40-liter can of milk gets tested. Right? And every Saturday, since the inception, right, we've been doing this a lot more aggressively now. Every Saturday, farmers can walk into our farm from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. They can see exactly how to milk a cow, right? Walk into the lab, see exactly all the tests that we do, then walk into our processing facility, get an idea of what happens in a milk processing facility, go through our grass growing operations just to get a feel. Kids go on a tractor ride. We give them the entire thing end to end to build this trust with our end consumer.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Thank you, Anupam, for being here. And I think we all seen the kind of effort being put in by the students of IIT Kharagpur. And we hope today's interaction with Anupam would be very fruitful for all the people sitting here and also all the people watching a live telecast on mystartuptv.com and other students. Anupam, your journey has been interesting. And I know there are some videos I saw of yours, but it's complete social media blank of yours. We'll be asking about that. Tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start, and which was the year you decided that you want to set up and become an entrepreneur, and you want to become an entrepreneur in the edtech sector?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, right? We can keep it open for them, right? So, to talk briefly about ourselves, for us, three of us, Nestor is co-founded by three of us, myself, Rahul, who is incidentally alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and then Sashank. So three of us used to work together in an incubator based out of Hyderabad previously, right? So during that time, three of us were actively hiring for different roles at the previous company that we were working for. So one thing that was really, surprising, shocking, and whatnot was we felt and found the students are really capable and have the potential. But the question, are they carrying enough skills to come and contribute to the workspace immediately after graduation, was a question to us. So that felt us really suppressed because back then the teams with which we were working were instantly to be from tier 1 institutes, call them IITs and IITs, BITS, etc. Right? So I won't say at IIT Kharagpur the education was really fabulous or no, I learned everything from my professors or so, but the ecosystem had played a key role, right? I mean, because we have so clubs like this, entrepreneurship cell, or beautiful clubs, etc., where we learn from the ecosystem.
And you're also the general secretary of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, you have beautiful ecosystem over there which helps you to come out with flying colors, right? So, but then if you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, is it the ecosystem same, or are they coming up with enough skills which can help them get a job right after their graduation, was a question. So that made us really think that this is something that is really big. The students by the age of 21, students are roughly at least these days spending at least 20 to 30 lakhs by then, right? I mean, by the time if they're graduating, if they're not having enough skills which can help them to get, a job at least, then it's a serious question on what we are as an ecosystem providing them, right? So that's the starting point of our entrepreneurial journey. So 3 of us, Rahul, I and Sashank, were equally excited when we started this, and it's been 3 years, fabulous journey ever since then.
Yeah, your platform, you have, after recent funding round 8 months back, you call yourself, or you aim to achieve, to become India's largest employability platform. So tell us about this kind of ambition and what makes you confident that in the next 1 year, is it the target? Your company is going to reach the target or probably become this largest employability platform of the country.
So probably, thanks